Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, April 7th City Council meeting for City Garden Ridge. It is 6 p.m. and roll call, place one, Mayor Pro Tem McCall is not here right now, and we haven't heard from him. Hope he's okay. Everyone else is here. And if you would, please stand and join me for the pledge. I'm going to come down and ask Alex Webster to join me up at the podium. Ready? Go ahead, lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
So, going to move on to item number 4. We're very fortunate today to have another Eagle Scout that we're going to recognize. And some of you have heard me say this before, but Eagle is very clearly not only a significant accomplishment, but one that put a lot of work both on the part of the Eagle Scout himself, but also on the family. And so when we find out that we have an Eagle Scout, a newly minted Eagle Scout in the community, we like to talk about it a little bit. You know, if you haven't paid attention, Eagle, pretty exclusive club to be Eagle. Only 4%, typically about 4% of all the Scouts become Eagle. And we're talking presidents, astronauts, Supreme Court justices, lots of captains of industry. And one that's I think is a really big deal is counting as of modern day, 11 Medal of Honor recipients have been Eagle Scouts. So, you know, it's arguably a milestone that demonstrates commitment and demonstrates commitment, like I said, of family as well. So to that end, we have Alex Webster up here, and I'm going to present this certificate of recognition. This certificate is presented to Alex Webster on behalf of the Garden Ridge community. We're pleased to congratulate and recognize you for your attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout. Well done, sir. And while I'm here, item number 5, we have some proclamations. The first one is National Library Week. And if I could get Linda Crossland, our librarian, to come on up. Oh, and Wendy's coming up too. You know, I saw her earlier. Welcome.
Do we need our masks?
So, proclamation. We have it up there as well. Whereas libraries of all type are at the heart of their cities, towns, schools, campuses serving their communities, and whereas libraries are accessible, inclusive places that foster a sense of belonging and community with services extending far beyond the four walls of a building, and whereas for people lacking access to a computer or broadband at home, libraries provide access to computers and Wi-Fi, and whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of all access for all, and whereas libraries offer opportunities for everyone to explore new worlds, become their best selves through the access to technology, multimedia content, and educational programs, and whereas in times of crisis, libraries, librarians, and library workers play an invaluable role in supporting their communities both in person and virtually, and whereas to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources and continuing to meet the needs of their patrons, and whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all, and whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status, And whereas librarians, library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Larry Thompson, Mayor of the City of Garden Ridge, do hereby proclaim April 4th to 10th, 2021 as in the City of Garden Ridge is National Library Week. I encourage all citizens to visit their library both in person and online to access resources and services. Because of you, libraries transform lives and communities. Signed April 7th, 2021. And those of you who know me know that I am a huge proponent and supporter of our library. I love our library. I try to spend as much time as I can over there, and I cannot say enough good things about. This is the tip of the iceberg. The brains and the organization behind the outfit, but the bulk of, particularly during COVID, the bulk of our volunteer force was in the library. People that were dedicated, that would say, hey, when can we come back in there? I know we got COVID going on, but when can we get back in there? Knocking down the doors to get back in and to help run the library. And as these two wonderful ladies would tell you, we couldn't do what we do in the library without those volunteers. It's an enriching opportunity for them, but it's also a place where a lot of adults and kids get to go and see and learn and grow together and spend time together. And if you notice, every so often on the sign I put on there that adventures await in the library, because when I was a kid, I do have very strong memories of the adventures that I had in reading books and getting away from whatever was going on in my life to go to the adventure. And so I've never forgotten that, and that's why I've always put that in a sign. So we are very fortunate and extremely blessed to have such a great library and great staff with the library. So yeah, National Library Week, but it's every week is National Library Week. Tell people about it. It drives us crazy when people say, oh, you have a library? But no kidding. It is a place that I highly recommend that you spend some time in and talk to some of the folks that are there, and maybe even get involved with the library. Lots of great programs, adults, children, families. It runs the whole gamut. So thank you so much for all that you all do, and I'll give you the floor if you'd like to say. Oh, let's do this first. Not at all.
Okay. I don't have that many pages to read. Several years ago, when the city decided to build this complex, they got the bids back, and I think they had sticker shock. And so a lot of people said, let's just skip the library. We'll do it one day, we promise. And Mayor Jay Fabelman went, oh no, we're going to do it now. And I'm kind of glad that he did. Maybe he was thinking of what Walter Cronkite said, whatever the cost of our libraries, the price is cheap compared to that of an ignorant nation. I'm sure most of you will agree with that. Other than the initial push from Jay Fabelman, this mayor, Larry Thompson, has done more to help our library than anyone else. He's given us a voice and a place in the hierarchy of the city, and I thank you so much for being a champion for the culture and education and importance of the library and all that we provide for the city. I also want to thank City Council for supporting us. The library in Canyon Lake last Monday opened for the first time with great fanfare. And I think San Antonio is still not open except for curbside pickup. So thank you for letting us have that latitude to make our own judgment, best judgment too, as to when to open. Your encouragement means the world to us. There are a couple of things I'd like you to know about libraries, and I'll try to hurry. Research shows that libraries play a vital role in the happiness of Americans. Research shows that communities that best support the well-being of their community members are those that spend more on libraries parks and highways. Americans go to public libraries more than they go to the movies. This was before COVID, of course. In 2020, they found that going to the library is the most common cultural activity for most Americans. Most adults said they went at least 10.2 times, or as an average, a year. As far back as 2013, there were 1.5 billion in-person visits to public libraries across the U.S. That is an equivalent to more than 4 million a day, to 2,854 per second. I wish they were all here. But there are more libraries in the United States than there are Starbucks, and I think that's really much healthier for you. So we also, we're not just about books, we're about programs. And there were 113 million attendees at public library programs it was in 2016. More than Major League Baseball and NBA games combined. Isn't that great? Okay, before I finish, I'd like to say 2 more thank yous. One, of course, is a huge thanks to all our volunteers who donate hours of their time and their energy and their talents. We usually are ahead when it comes to hours spent because they are so dedicated. And they've allowed us to stay open more hours and been a huge savings for the city. And the second huge thank you is for Wendy Bibbert, the assistant librarian. If you've ever called or just come in, you will be met with a cheerful, "How are you today?" Or, "This is Garden Ridge Library, this is Wendy, how may I help you?" And when you leave, she'll say, "Have a wonderful day." And she may feel horrible, but you will be cheered just by her sweet voice. She is a huge asset to the library, to the city, and to me personally. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you very much, Wendy. Next up, we have another proclamation. This is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And is Ellie here? And did Michael and Stacy come with you?
They did not. I know.
Well, welcome, Ellie. This is not Ellie's first time here. It's good to see you again. But this, I'm going to read this proclamation for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual assault is widespread and has public health implications for communities, and whereas statistics indicate that every 73 seconds an American is sexually assaulted and every 9 minutes that victim is a child, and whereas we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to prevent sexual assault and how to support survivors, and whereas staff and volunteers of the Crisis Center of Comal County and other prevention-related programs in the area encourage every person to speak out when witnessing acts of violence, however small, and speak up when they hear others making light of sexual assault, stereotypes, or gender biases. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there's compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual assault in our community through prevention, education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And whereas we strongly support the efforts of national, state, and local partners, including residents, to actively engage in public and private efforts, including conversations about what sexual assault is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual assault. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Larry Thompson, Mayor Garden Ridge, do hereby proclaim April 2021 in the City of Garden Ridge as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and urge residents to join the Crisis Center of Comal County anti-sexual violence advocates and support services programs in the belief that all community members must be a part of the solution to end sexual assault. And signed 7th day of April 2021. Ellie is part of the Crisis Center of Comal County and been associated with them and have been able to spend some time with them. They've managed to expand their facilities a little bit, and I'll tell you, it's tough work, right? I mean, think about what they do and why they have to do it, but thank God that there are people that do it, and that there are people that are there when somebody needs the support, when somebody needs the assistance, when somebody needs a place, when somebody needs a place for their children. And I would ask you to consider looking into this if you have any interest in helping. Take a look at their facilities, take a look at what they do. There's a lot up there that they can use a lot of help with, whether it be direct support or indirect support, but it's a tough job, and like I said, thank God there's somebody that's willing to do it and willing to be there for people when they're in a time of need. So Ellie, thank you for being here again, and I'd like to present this to you and then give you the floor. So.
I tell our director every year I don't really need to do a speech because you do such a great job. So thank you so much for always advocating for us and your support, and to City Council. I mean, we appreciate being able to be here every year, multiple times a year. I know you're probably thinking, why am I wearing a jacket and workout pants? I promise it's not to be unprofessional, and it's not because I'm cold, because it is very hot outside. And I will get to why I'm wearing what I'm wearing. But a couple of years ago, an individual decided to start an art exhibit for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And the art exhibit is called What Were You Wearing? So what they did was they took clothing that either that did resemble what a victim was wearing whenever they were sexually assaulted, to show that that's not really a question that we should be asking victims of what were you wearing, right? Because what someone is wearing does not make it okay for someone to go and touch them or make them feel uncomfortable, right? So why I'm wearing what I'm wearing tonight is as that example, because I can't bring a whole art exhibit into here, but whenever I was 15, that was the first time that I was sexually assaulted, and I was wearing something very similar to this. I had told my friend about it, and her first question to me was, well, were you wearing something provocative? That completely made me shut down, because I felt like I had done something wrong in that moment. And then I didn't talk about it again until I was 25 years old, and it had happened 4 more times. So I had found people who didn't ask me those questions. And so my one thing tonight that I would like to leave everyone with is questions not to ask a victim of sexual assault if they decide to open up about it. So one is, what were you wearing, right? The second is, were you under the influence? Third, did you say no? And fourth, were you flirting with them? So law enforcement and sexual assault nurse examiners, they do have to ask some of these questions, like was alcohol or drugs involved? What were you wearing whenever this happened? Because there's evidence that needs to be collected and there's reporting that needs to be done. But as far as someone who is there as a support system, as a friend, as someone just standing by and listening, those aren't questions that we should ask, because what it does take away from is what the perpetrator did. And then it makes it seem like we're blaming the victim. And that's something that we do need to change. Because I will tell you that through my job at the Crisis Center, I'm a prevention specialist, so I work with our youth and I talk about these problems. And a lot of them have said that they do not speak up to their adults, their trusted adults in their lives, because of how these adults have spoken about others who have been sexually assaulted. And asking these kinds of questions, or doing the victim blaming, or saying, oh, I don't think they're telling the truth, which is true. Some people don't tell the truth. Some people make it up. But again, it's not our place to make that decision. And so something that we can do, I even do this with my daughter. Anytime she comes to talk to me, I ask her, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to give advice? Or do you want me to take action? Now, I know, even as someone who went through this, that when someone talks to me about it, especially before this job, I didn't really know what to say or what to do or how to help them, but that's where we come in, because we do know how, and so we are a very valuable resource whenever it comes to that. And so even if you don't know how to help the individual, saying, I don't know how to help you, but I know that these people do, and I can be there with you while you go through that support system. So coming to us, the Crisis Center of Como County, we are here to serve victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, but also keeping in mind and being aware of what do we say whenever people speak about things, and how do we react to it? Because our children, our grandchildren, people around us, they're listening and they're watching, and it does determine whether or not they feel like they can speak up about these issues. So that's all I have to say. But thank you again so much. I appreciate it.
Wow. Thank you for all that. And the last one of our proclamations is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And is Robert here? Robert's from the Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and most people know him as CASA. And as Child Abuse Prevention Month, we have a proclamation. I'm going to read this first. Whereas there were more than 75,000 confirmed victims of child abuse and neglect in Texas during 2020, with 385 of those being children in Comal County. And whereas child abuse prevention in a community responsibility and finding solutions depends on involvement among all people, and whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs that benefit children and their families, and whereas child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships among agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community, and whereas everyone in the community should become more aware of child abuse prevention and encourage parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment, now therefore be it resolved that I, Larry Thompson, Mayor Garden Ridge, do hereby proclaim April 2021 in the City of Garden Ridge as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and urge all citizens to work together to help reduce child abuse and neglect significantly in the years to come. Signed the 7th day of April. And as I looked over, I also see Shannon from the Children's Advocacy Center. And so welcome. We're glad you're here. So I'll explain quickly that we're fortunate in our community to have more than one organization that helps. The Court-Appointed Special Advocacy program is a great program as somebody's going through the system, if you will. But in the beginnings of it, when somebody has potentially experienced something and the family's experiencing something, that the Children's Advocacy Center is there immediately in the beginning. And Shannon's from the Children's Advocacy Center. I'm actually on the board for the Advocacy Center, and I have been for quite a few years, and so involved in this very much. And I can't tell you how, I don't have the words to tell you how amazing these people are that deal with this, and how the things that they have to deal with sometimes, and I don't know how they do it and how they keep it together and keep it going down the right path, working with all of the people to make sure that that any victims are taken care of, victims have justice, and that anybody that's on the wrong side of this is taken care of. And both of these organizations do an amazing job. Again, two organizations that also depend on a lot of support from the community. Whether it's being on the board or helping with a fundraiser or carrying stuff for them during an event, whatever it happens to be. Now, I can tell you from experience that we didn't have a lot of that in the last year because of COVID, but you're going to see that start to gin up again as all three of the organizations that you have heard from tonight. As we start to come out of this, you're going to start to see some of those events again. And I encourage you to seek them out. I encourage you to contact them if you think you have either the time, the experience, the skill to help, because the need is definitely there. And they do amazing work, especially when we're talking about kids and what some of the kids have to go through. But I could talk about this all day. I'd stop, but if you ever want to know more and I'm around, tell me, because I would love to tell you more. So in the meantime, I'd like to, well, we only have one of these, but we'll get another one to make sure you get what you have. And then ask both of you if you'd like to say a few words. So let's put this between the two of you. And get a picture. And time, go ahead. Please.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. Although I didn't prepare too many remarks for this evening, I'm generally pretty long-winded and wing things. But just want to say thank you very much to this council and the City of Garden Ridge for helping acknowledge a problem that we all wish didn't exist, and that we all wish happened somewhere else other than our backyard. Currently, as of today, there are 303 kids in the foster care system out of Comal County alone. I was not able to pull up the specific Garden Ridge numbers, but there are a number of children that come out of Garden Ridge as well into the foster care system. We just want to bring attention to the fact that these problems do exist here in this community. It's a personal issue for me as well. My lovely wife is a teacher here at this school. My daughter attends school here as well. And so bringing attention to this matter helps create more eyes on the problem and helps identify some of these kids that have been mistreated, neglected, or abused. And so I just want to say thank you all for all of the work that we can all continue to do to help keep our children in our community safe. If you're looking for other ways that you can help, CASA is a program that is volunteer run. We rely solely on volunteer participation to actively work different CPS cases and see them through from start to finish. You can also get involved with a number of the community partners here in Garden Ridge that help provide a lot of support to the children that are in the foster care system currently. So thank you very much. We really appreciate all of the support. Thank you.
I'm embarrassed that I caught Larry off guard. My name's Shannon Dixon, and I'm short, so you have to move this down. I'm the Director of Outreach at the Children's Advocacy Center in Comal County. I'm a numbers person because I feel that numbers speak volumes in our community. We have our population, we have our income and expense. So I'm going to share with you that in Comal County during 2020, the Advocacy Center did 331 forensic interviews for children that have had outcries of abuse. We looked at over 2008 statewide intakes to see if they qualified for services at the Children's Advocacy Center. And lastly, we did 1,165 hours of counseling for children that came through the Advocacy Center in 2020. I tell you that because it's important for you to understand that abuse thrives in secrecy, and abusers know that. So proclamations such as this and community awareness is such a huge and important piece to stopping abuse right in its tracks. And the Advocacy Center is the first place, the first piece that happens after children have had outcries of abuse. And they come to the center and they tell their story in a child-friendly, neutral, safe location. So as you go out tonight and you go back into your community and you go to your families and you go in your neighborhood, also realize that 1 in 10 girls will be sexually abused by the time they're 18 and 1 in 6 boys. So I encourage you as a community to watch and to help keep children safe. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you that all three of those proclamations, the folks that accepted them did an amazing job of representing their cause, their organization, their concern. And I'll just tell you, all three of them that we did proclamations for tonight are heavily reliant on community involvement, people getting involved in like I said, a lot of degrees, whether it's direct or indirect support. But so please look into some of those, and I ask you to consider it because they all three, library, to begin with the library, but all three are all four really, are just amazing organizations and do things that we really, we're very, very fortunate that we have in our community. Okay, so moving on to item number 6. Item number 6, city employee recognitions and employee introductions. I'll turn it over to Ms. Kane.
For the first item, I'm going to ask our water manager, Jacob Parsons, to take that item.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce our newest employee to the Water Department, Robert Mann. He's standing up in the back, and due to COVID, we'll leave him there. Robert comes to us from the oil field setting and also the drilling of water wells, and so we're excited to have him on the team. Thank you. I also might want to add that we use Eric for some of the big bulk pulling and pushing. Now we got our own.
Okay, we received quite a number of thank yous that we would like to bring forward to council this month. The first two came from Barbara and Ken Kniper. They thanked city staff for their assistance that they received while they were away during the winter storm, so that their water pipes would not break. Staff turned their water off at the meter, and they said that they appreciate all the services that the city offers its residents. The second note from them thanks Mayor Thompson and city staff for their hard work during the ice and snowstorm. They found that they had no water while they were out of town. Someone staying at their home found there was no water. The meter was cut off. City staff answering phones were very responsive to them. And on Friday, the last day of that storm, Eric Lohman went over to check and make sure that they were okay and that they had no problems with any leaks. They go on to further say that citizens of Garden Ridge should be thankful that we have dedicated employees who go the extra mile when an emergency arrives. The next note we received was a thank you to the Water Department and city staff for all they did to keep us safe, and this was also received in reference to the storm, and that was from Linda Ackerman. The third note we received was a thank you to the Garden Ridge Water Department staff. They said they had plenty of water during the lengthy frigid week, and they were grateful for all that the staff did to make that happen. And that was from Lily and Jerry Baruki. And then I received a call from Ms. Baruki, and she wanted to express how nicely done the March grapevine was. She stated that the information about utilities, building permits, hazardous waste, and recycling of batteries was a nice addition and very informative. And she wanted to make sure the employee involved with putting the grapevine together knew that her work was appreciated, and that she says thank you for her work. And that employee is Kat Balby. Okay, and I think I'm going to be down to the last one. Yes. The Smiths wanted to express their gratitude for the prompt service they received during the winter storm from city staff. They apparently had a water pipe that burst. They anticipated it was going to take some time before someone could get out. They had tried calling plumbing companies, and they were surprised that when they called the city, there was someone there that took the call, and within less than 30 minutes, a city employee was out turning their water off, and they wanted to say thanks again and special thanks to the gentleman making service calls on the night of February 17th, 2021. I am not sure exactly which of the employees it was, but then I wanted to turn this next item over to Ms. Spencer.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to announce that our utility clerk, Michelle Hinojosa, has been released from the new hire probationary period, and I would like to recognize her for her performance and outstanding work throughout this probationary period. She is here with us tonight, and I want her to know, as well as council to know, she has been a great addition to our team, and I feel very blessed to have her as an employee.
Here, here.
Okay, then I wanted to let council know that Linda Crossland received a stipend to attend the Texas Library Association's virtual annual conference. It's more like a scholarship rather than a stipend. Linda has not been able to attend this conference in the past, but this award of the stipend will allow her to attend that conference, as well as it covers her annual membership fee for this year. Congratulations, Linda. Now we have we have some city employee anniversaries to recognize. First one is Jacob Parsons, 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think he's on top of the tower. Shannon Del Toro for 7 years.
And then the last one we want to thank and recognize is Nancy Kane for 19 years.
Thank you. Thanks. It's yours.
So,
She has been a blessing too.
no, go right ahead, go right ahead.
She's been a blessing too. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
And next, I'm going to ask Ms. Kitty Owen to come up to here. I'll meet you at the main podium. So 19 years, okay? But how about... I gotta say it, I'm sorry. So I want you to take a look at Ms. Kitty Owen. That is what a amazing, selfless servant for 22 years looks like. 22 years. So we thought, now we're talking about 22 years as a planning and zoning commissioner. Not an easy job, not a popular job, one that demands a lot of prep and a lot of knowledge, and she did that and had that, and we sincerely appreciate the service over many years, over many, many, many meetings and projects, and we thought it would be really important to publicly thank you and to give you just a very small token to commemorate from May 1998 to September 2020. COVID kind of slowed us down on doing this a little bit, but I can't thank you enough. Thank you for all that you've done for the city. We love you, and thank you.
Beautiful, huh? Wow, thank you for those kind words. And thank you for the recognition, City Council and Mr. Mayor. I hope I can get through this. I didn't realize it was going to be so hard. You know, I did a lot work with the city before I became a commissioner. And in that vein, when I first came to the city, as thinking back on this, we had council meetings and commission meetings in a 8x10 shed in Paul Davis Park. And it was not, the citizens came, but it was still very crowded. So that's where we started. That's our roots. The population at that time of Garden Ridge was 903. And so now we're up to about 3,500, something like that, give or take. So we've done a lot of progress in this city with volunteers. I can't even begin to mention how the time has passed. It's just amazing how we blink and years are gone. The as a commissioner, I was able to provide guidance and support to the city council so that they could make things happen in the city. One of the things that we had, some of the projects we did was 7 different subdivisions we built out. We've improved roads, we bought our own water system. I spent many days with Nancy Kane on Saturday trying to go through ordinances. And now we have an ordinance pack about this thick, right? But, you know, we've moved along. The city has prospered. The city is moving forward. And now we have 7 beautiful developments, this beautiful building that we can all use, and look forward to many more things happening along 2252. So I sincerely enjoyed my time providing that guidance, and I want to thank you for the beautiful memento. I'll cherish it always. And thank you again. I'm proud to be a citizen of Garden Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for helping acknowledge the Kitty's service. 22 years. Like I said, you know, Nancy, 19. Okay, that's impressive. But 22. Thank you, Kitty. Moving on now to item number 7, citizen comment period. And remember, this is the period where we ask you to sign up. I have 5 people that signed up. 3 minutes, and when you step to the podium, and it's not the one that I've been standing at and we've been doing the other business. It's the one that's where you see Ryan standing there. And we ask you to go on up there, and you do not have to wear a mask when you're speaking unless you prefer to. And when you say your name and address, it does not count part of your 3 minutes. So the first person I have on the list is Tony Frasco.
Thank you very much. I come here tonight because we all got affected by the disaster we faced. And I had water leaks, and I'm not asking for special treatment. I just want your water department not to tell me they're giving me a gift by giving me a $350 bill extra because of the fact I had water leaks in the backyard with 6 inches of snow at 8-degree temperatures. And I asked the water department I put in my form for a request. And he said, no, I have to appeal it to the council. He turned it down. I told him I was in very bad straits at that time, and we had no heat, we had no electric, I lost my wife. I went through hell, and now I'm told I get a gift. A gift is something I receive, not $350 I pay out. And then I was told, how about exigencies? Because that's what I used to declare when I was a councilman. If we had an emergency, we declared an exigency. He told me, no, we don't do exigencies. Well, then I think it's time you look at exigencies and transfer money and take care of the residents of this town. Just because you have insurance doesn't mean that you're home free. Your house is devastated, and you're lucky if you get part of what you get. But to tell me that I have a gift is idiotic. And maybe we should get some sensitivity training into your employees that tell me that I'm getting a gift. A gift would be my wife at my side. That's a gift. Or put something in my mailbox. That's a gift. But don't tell me paying $350 is a gift, because it's not. And then on top of it, we were told we were not getting water increases as far as late fees. Well, on the bottom of my bill was $99 increase if I pay late. And I would have got an attorney, but I just went through a hell of a lot of money. And I don't have it. Otherwise, I would have taken it to court. And they said they can't shut your water off. Then he said, you can shut your water off. You can't have a residence in a house without water. It's not allowed by the Board of Health. And why is it that you put almost $100 on top of the water bill? And then I said, how about the water that you lost? And he said, exigency, wait a minute. You want the residents to pay for your water bill? The same as I paid for the water bill when you lost thousands of gallons
Sir, your time's
on a
up. Thank you.
leak.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Shelby Trial.
Good evening, Council. My name is Shelby Trial. I live at 21657 Forest Water Circle. Good to see you. I haven't been here for a while. Matter of fact, probably last time was when y'all canceled the 4th of July parade. And I thought the Parks Committee obviously had a precision plan on that. But no, I'm here really to kind of talk about what's on your agenda tonight, and that's the social media. Some things have come to light that I've learned about. There was postings on social media during the ice storm that I'm not aware of. And I don't know if the city has a record of that or not, but maybe I'll check into that, because if you don't have a good record, the city is putting themselves in jeopardy of being sued. And those, if you do a quick Google search, can range anywhere from a few tens of thousands to over $500,000. So I don't know if the city attorney has recommended that y'all modify or eliminate the current city policy or not. But I'd be interested in hearing what the latest is on that, because there are members of city council that are posting to social media that, matter of fact, there's a few that are just very derogatory toward people. There's one I can tell you that was referring to a person as an old Air Force guy who doesn't have any kids in CISD, and the only volunteer work that they've done is for their HOA. Well, I'm not here running for city council, not tonight, I mean, maybe next year. And I have several accomplishments, volunteer hours, as many of y'all know, that I wouldn't mind touting then. But we should not be posting to social media. If our objective is to drive people toward the city website, why are we driving them to other social media sites? Answer that question for me. So going forward, I hope that y'all take this seriously. If this is the new city policy, that's y'all's decision, and I'll be paying attention, see what happens. I'll probably hear about some comments about myself tonight after speaking about this, but I don't have access to social media. Well, I should put it this way. I don't use social media for that kind of stuff. There's enough negativity out there in the world. I don't need any additional negativity. So that's all I had, and I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next up is Ken Kniper.
Ken Kniper, 8891 Shanedahl Road. I was kind of flabbergasted at February's meeting, or March's meeting rather, because I expected to see a lot of amputated fingers. It seems like city council's fingers were all frozen during the ice and freeze and the snowstorm. It seemed none of them remembered how to get in touch with Larry Thompson, our mayor. I texted him for no reason, not even about the city, from the lake, and I got a reply. I don't understand. Maybe you can explain to me why you don't feel it's important if there's a crisis in the city, he has to reach out to you. I spent 20 years in the military, part of it as a leader. My subordinates all kept in touch with me. By phone, in person, and if I asked a question, and not even if I asked a question, unrelated, they would approach me and let me know what they were thinking. Mayor Thompson's not that bad. Have I been always on his good side? Oh, hell no. He has gotten on my case on more than one occasion. And yes, he cannot be so kind, but we forget it. And he forgets the moment. And we continue. I think you all need to grow up. because there seemed to be a lot of children in the room. I felt like I was surrounded by kindergartners and first graders last meeting. All you did was backbite, spread rumors that you couldn't even substantiate. I don't know how the mayor can in any way change whatever's posted on Nextdoor. He doesn't even have a Nextdoor account. He's not an administrator for the Nextdoor. How can he do that? You all seem to think you know the reason. I want to hear it tonight when we get to that point in this council meeting. Tell me who said he did what. Then you'll have proof. Then you'll have standing in my eyes. If you can't, forget it. You have lost my support. Truly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next is Don Hatch.
I'm just going to say a couple of things, and then I'm going to skedaddle because I got to get home. Dawn Hatch, 8377 Twisted Oaks. City Council and social media. Facts. I'm a lead on Nextdoor, and I'm familiar with the rules. This role as a lead is slightly higher than a community reviewer. As a lead, I can read the history of comments reported, taken down, and who voted to remove them. One council member has been on Nextdoor since 2016. That person became a community reviewer either by requesting to be one or was invited and accepted the invitation. I made a post that didn't violate any rules regarding the lack of an emergency plan during the winter storm and the lack of communication from our officials. It's okay for people to voice their opinions. Because I posted only to Garden Ridge, the council member was able to report it, vote to remove it, and removed it all by himself. I have the evidence of that. This council member has been doing this to various comments since he has been a reviewer, and I can only assume he removes them because he just doesn't like them. This is censorship being practiced and initiated by a city council member. We have enough censorship in our nation right now by big tech. We don't need the city censoring citizens. He has since removed himself from Nextdoor, which was the right thing to do, and is no longer a reviewer. I wanted to let you know the facts because there seemed to be some confusion at last month's meeting as to what occurred. I think social media can be a good tool to get the word out about events happening around town and various concerns people have. Social media is the primary form of communication for nearly 70% of Garden Ridge. What happened during the storm with the lack of communication and direction from officials must not ever happen again in any emergency. What I don't think is acceptable, nor constitutional, is the fact that just because you don't like a standalone post, you weaponized your role as a reviewer to censor people about Garden Ridge issues. Second issue, and very quickly, there's a lack of respect shown to the two ladies on this council at every meeting. I watch every single meeting, and they do a great job. Some things I agree with on them, and some things I don't, but I do give them credit for standing for what they believe, and they should be acknowledged respectfully. Thank you.
Next is Rob Erickson.
Thanks. Rob Erickson, I live at 20203 Van Ness Circle, Wildwind Development in Garden Ridge. Good evening, Council and Mayor Thompson. It's always good to see you all. I'm here this evening to remind everybody about the Families of Garden Ridge Adopt a Highway Trash Pickup event scheduled for Saturday, 24 April from 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning. As always, we're going to meet at Northeast Bible Church front parking lot to distribute the wonderful TxDOT orange safety vests that many of you have worn before with me and pass out trash bags. So if you decide to do that, come on out, wear sturdy shoes, bring working gloves, and bring some water to drink. We should have a bunch of the athletic teams from Davenport High School joining us that morning, so it's also a great time to come out and meet the Wolves. Go Wolves, and go Cougars, Todd. And Chief, I apologize because I didn't realize that I coincide with your annual Garden Ridge Police Department bike rodeo. So we start at 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you don't have a kindergartner or first grader in the rodeo, come on out, teach them about community service, get a good walk in, do some knee bends, pick up some trash, and then go win the rodeo with your elder child and teach them about community service. As I stated last month, in the nearly 2.5 years of our existence, Families of Garden Ridge Adopt a Highway program has picked up over 250 bags of trash and tons of road debris and contributed over 400 hours of community service. And we are one of the leading Adopt a Highway programs in South and Central Texas as far as number of hours put forth, consistency, and the number of bags of trash picked up. Last thing I'd like to say is remind everybody that early voting starts Monday, 19 April at the Community Center and runs through 27 April. We'll skip the 25th of April on Sunday. Election Day is Saturday, the 1st of May, and Larry, as you so eloquently put back in 2018 when I was with the council prior to the midterm elections, Texas watches Garden Ridge voters and our high percentage of people, residents that come out and vote. So in the end, regardless of what candidate you choose, the thing that's most important is get out and vote and support Garden Ridge. Thanks so much.
Thank you. That concludes item number 7. Moving on to item number 8, the consent agenda. Council, you received 6 items in your consent agenda. And at this time, I'd like to see if anybody wants to pull anything from the consent agenda, or if you'd like to approve the consent agenda as sent to you and as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion for place 1 to approve the entire consent agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place 4 with a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item number 9. Staff reports. And turn to Ms. Kane, our City Administrator. Monthly activity report.
Okay. There are a few things I want to add to my report, but before I add a few items, I would just like to remind council that in the amendment to communications facility license that council just approved, there is one page that each council member will need to sign. And if you could, perhaps during the break or before you leave this evening, see Ms. Spencer, so we can get that page signed. What I wanted to add to my report is, I think most people know by now that our our water manager, Jacob Parsons, his last day is April 22nd. He is retiring from municipal government. And at this time, Stephen is training to be the acting water manager until we find a replacement in that position. I wanted to let you know also that the community center bookings are starting to pick up. I know in the past 3 days, Kim has already booked 2 new events. She's had a lot of calls. So interest is coming back into the community center. People are starting to move around. Also, Suzanne Kuntz Real Estate Group is going to be sponsoring another Shred Day here in Garden Ridge on Saturday, May 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also have pushed back the first weekend of dumpsters in May to the last weekend in May. Rather than having dumpsters available to the public for their brush. On the first through fourth weekend of the month, it will be through the second through the fifth weekend of the month of May. We are also going to be having donation boxes here in City Hall lobby for the Ray Cap Food Drive from April 19th through the 23rd. And I think I'm finished with all my additional updates.
Thank you, ma'am. Starting on the
You're
left
welcome.
side, questions or comments for City Minister?
No, I assume that we're still requesting or advocating for mask use in the community center and social distancing or volume?
Yes, we currently are.
Right, thank you.
Currently are, yes.
Did you mention a month or so ago something about hazardous waste pickup and when that might take place?
No, we have not decided on a date.
You said maybe it was Shirts who was doing it. I thought there was some comment.
Shirts had a hazardous waste picked up in April.
Okay.
I mean, in March. But we have not set a date yet. I will be working with our provider, Republic, to get us a program set up for this year.
I think possibly, Mr. Lancey might be, we did discuss the Comal County one that was just about the time of our last meeting. So that's come and gone.
Okay. Sir. Thank you. All right. Next up is 9B, Finance HR.
Good evening. I wanted to talk to you tonight about the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion that was approved earlier in March. Out of that $1.9 trillion, 45.5 billion has been allocated to cities across the United States. Out of that, $900,000 has been allocated to the city of Garden Ridge. That is still, it's not a definite number set in stone yet. It's still kind of being kicked around a little by the Treasury Department. Because we are a small city, those funds will come to us through TDM, and it's going to come in 2 installments. And my understanding is all we have to do is apply for it, and the first installment will be half of it. And then the second installment can't be sent out until at least 12 months after the first installment. You have to spend all the funds by 2024, and there are very strict instructions on what you can spend it on. And it looks like what we'll be able to use it for is water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So that's a nice little infusion of funds for the city. And then the other thing I wanted to speak with you, it's going to be probably about 4 weeks before I have any good information on how to go about getting those funds and what the process is going to be. The other thing I wanted to speak to you about is the STEP program. We're ready to discuss that with council. To present it to you. We have a working meeting scheduled for the 26th, but as of this point, we've only had 2 council members say that they will be there. So we need a few more. So if you could let Marissa know, it's on the 26th, April 26th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Starting right side, questions, comments? The next up is 9C, City Secretary Monthly Report.
Thank you.
Ms. Spencer.
I have a couple of things that I would like to highlight that are on the monthly report. The first one's going to be about the city's general election in May. The sample ballot has been posted on the website, and the League of Women Voters, they're conducting a virtual candidate forum as opposed to an in-person forum this year. So the recordings for the candidate forum, they were originally going to be available on April 9th. However, the League of Women Voters informed me that due to scheduling conflicts, they will now be available on their YouTube channel on April 10th, which is this Saturday. Their YouTube channel is LWV, like League of Women Voters, Comal area, very easy to find. I did ask them to inform me when the videos are available so that we could put them on our YouTube channel. But I would say the best place to go if anyone wants to view those is going to be their YouTube channel directly, because that's where they're going to post them. If anyone's interested in seeing how they've transitioned to these virtual candidate forums, they did recently post a couple of them on their YouTube channel. I believe it was Comal ISD and New Braunfels ISD. They're both having an election in May as well. So if anyone's interested in just seeing how that process is going to be, they are there. Early voting does begin on April 19th in the Community and Event Center. The hours for each day can be found on the calendar, the elections page, and on the news carousel, all on the city's website. It's also posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall. And then the official canvass is scheduled for Monday, May 10th at 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. Another thing I want to highlight on the report is that in the month of March, we had over 300 views on the City Council meeting and over 60 views total on all of the March Commission meetings. And lastly, something that is not on my report, but you'll hear more about later in this meeting and definitely throughout future council meetings, is that we have been reflecting on the winter weather emergency and discussing various aspects regarding the continuity of operations during any future emergency situations. So I just wanted to give y'all a heads up that that is in the works, and we've been talking about it, and you'll definitely see some documentations come to you in a future meeting. And with that, I would answer any questions that anyone has.
Great, thank you. Starting on the left side, questions or comments? City Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Spencer. Next up is Police Department, item D.
Thank you, sir. Most of the information is in the monthly. I would like to emphasize that we did have our first Citizen Police Academy class last night for this year's class. We've got 30 new students. Great turnout. We had a lot of the alumni come out. We're going to have a good time. Everybody seems to be real excited to do that. So for the next 11 weeks, we will be having our Citizen Police Academy at the Community Center on Tuesdays from 6 to 9. If any of the council wants to stop in, come on by. We'll get you up there in front of them during class. And we have an agenda, but we can always work it in if y'all show up. So welcome, come watch, come join. Some of y'all haven't attended the class, so you get a little peek view of what we're doing up there and maybe attend one of the future courses. Also, as Marissa was saying, we too have been in the talks with the after action report. So we're fortunate on the police department side that most of our protocols already deal with handling emergency type situations. So we're talking through it. We're getting some good information out there, and we'll have some recommendations in place for future, should we have another unprecedented incident as this, things that may need to come up, or things we may need to have on hand in order to better serve the community during those circumstances. And that's all I have.
Thanks, sir. Starting on the right side, questions or comments for the police department?
Quick question, Chief. On your reports, we've never seen it, but do we have any instances, and I don't want any specifics, obviously, about child abuse or sexual assault in the city ever?
Yes, sir.
I've never seen anything.
Yes.
Occasionally?
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 9E, Public Works.
Good evening. Son? Yeah. In March, we repaired 17 potholes. We had 2 stormwater display signs on the FM 2252 marquee sign. We had about ½ an inch of rainfall recorded. We've had no new incidences or reports of oak wilt. We currently have 1 cat, 0 dogs, and we disposed of 4 deer carcasses for March. Currently, the Public Works Department is actively researching new ways to better respond to severe weather threats or events like ice storms and flooding. So we'll be looking at new ways to approach them here in the future. That's all I have to report for the month of March.
Thanks. And starting on the left side, questions or comments for Public Works? I do want to point out that just today, we finished, signed, and sent off the MS4 report. And for those of you that are familiar, that was a report that when we first found out that we had to do it, it was going to cost a fortune to put it all together. And Stephen stepped up to the plate, Mr. Steinman stepped up to the plate and figured out how to do the report and how to have to actually explain the program, which a lot of it he already was doing it, just hadn't been documenting it, about stormwater and the mitigation of issues with drainage. And so we're talking thousands of dollars that he, and I believe the first year his wife helped him write it too, but thousands of dollars that he's helped us with on that program, that report. It's a solid MS4 program. We had some gaps because of COVID and not being able to have like NNO, National Night Out, that kind of thing. But otherwise, we really owe you a debt of gratitude. You've done tremendous work on the MS4 report. Thank you. Next up is item 9F, the Water Department.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just highlight a couple things in my report. The leak adjustments, I'd like to quickly go over those. The City Council, you have decided to, in essence, grant everyone in the city a water leak adjustment. So that's why you're not going to see any new requests, because all new requests that came in were granted already by you. And so that's why you're not going to see anything there. I'd also like to go over the Whispering Oaks project. I'm excited to announce that we have the as-builts back from the developer, and we will be reviewing them this week and hopefully be doing the final walkthrough next week. That will conclude that project. It's been ongoing for quite some time. I also want to go over the AMI project. We got our first stainless steel meters in. We got 4. And we have already installed them. They are working right now per design. We have 1 meter left in the city to replace, and that would finalize our iPearls, and we would be on CamStrip, so they would all be up and running by the end of this week. That being said, the AMI project should be completed in the next couple weeks. Also with that, I would like to say that we are, as well as everybody else, we are also dealing with emergency response plans and what we're going to be doing for that in the future, and how we can better mitigate those in the future. And I also want to highlight that as though I'm leaving, Stephen is going to be stepping up and picking up a lot of this stuff, and I've been working with him, and he's been working with me, and he's going to do a phenomenal job. So you'll be in good hands. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Starting over the right side, questions or comments for the Water Department? Yeah, the council, you may get questions or comments about water leak adjustments for the last billing period, and apparently some people don't quite understand that what you did was you gave everybody a water leak adjustment, whether or not they asked for it. By capping the rate at the second tier, what you did was give everybody one. So if anybody had a leak and they were to ask for a water leak adjustment, their bill would be adjusted to what you adjusted it to. So that's, if somebody asks you, refer them to the water company and we can explain it further. But yeah, so that was the whole thing about what we did last time that you approved. The other thing is just to say that this is Jacob Parsons' last council meeting, unless we can figure out a way to chain him to the desk or something. He's been an absolute amazing water manager, a team member. There's just not enough. There's not enough time tonight to talk about how how he has dedicated so much to the city, to his team, and to the team overall, Garden Ridge. He is leaving because it's literally one of those offers you can't refuse, and mostly for family reasons. But a great move for his family. He knows where we are, and he's gonna stay in close touch. But we wish him all the best, and that this new opportunity is everything and more that he hopes and expects, and that he gets to spend a lot more time with his 2 and 1 coming kid, and his family. So, Jacob, thank you for all that you've done and everything that you poured into the water company and into the city. We appreciate you very much.
You're absolutely welcome. It's my pleasure.
Moving on to item number G, which is the library, 9G.
Okay. Again, we're in the middle of National Library Week, so come and see us and love on us, okay? And not just this week, but every week, because we love on you all. Next Monday, April 12th, is DEAR, Dear Day. Drop everything and read. You're all invited, you're all expected to read. We're suggesting at least 15 minutes a day. You might pick a time. If everybody would read at, say, noon in Garden Ridge, I just think this mighty, brilliant cloud would go up in the sky, of genius. We do have a couple of books to read in case you don't have something, because you don't want to sit there and read the ingredients on your vitamin bottle. So just come see us, okay? Before the next meeting, we have a couple of things coming up. We have Family Tech Day on Saturday the 1st, and then a sacred holy holiday will take place on the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Celebrating Star Wars, of course.
Oh, God.
During the day, we will have different crafts and activities, some refreshments like Wookiee cookies and Yoda soda. So you really need to wear your costume. I know you have it hidden away or not. It's up to you. And then did we have some pictures that we were going to show? We did have a little special Easter Bunny story time last Friday, and that is the bunny's granddaughter and daughter standing there. That's why she's so close, and the granddaughter's just enamored of the bunny. Here they're starting out, and these kids were just so cute. I thought you needed a little dose of adorableness, so that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Starting on the left side, questions, comments for the library?
No, thanks. Makes you wish you were a kid again.
Don't we? You can be. Come on the 4th.
Brian, you don't need to be a kid to go to the library. He goes,
I was kicked out of a lot of libraries.
oh.
But
Never
not
mind.
mine. Thank you, Councilman.
That concludes item number 9. Moving on to item number 10, City Engineer, Mr. Merriweather.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Reed Merriweather with Tri-Hydro Engineers. I'm filling in for Pat Lackey that's out of town this week. So on our report, we've had some ongoing projects, obviously, with the Force Main project going on, and Jake has been doing a great job every day keeping the contractor honest and being out there watching him and reporting to us. We don't have the daily inspection duties, but he's definitely been out there bird dogging them, and with that oversight, it really makes a difference, because you get a really good product and make sure the contractor does what he's supposed to do and tracks his work and make sure that if he makes a mess, he's cleaning it up, and that citizens, if there's any complaints, that they're being addressed. And so he's been doing a really good job on that, we really appreciate it, because it's making the project go very well. That project, by the way, is anticipating probably being finished around the end of May, so that new force main will be in place. And we've certainly had a number of inquiries already, people that are interested in what they need to do to connect. So we're working with Ms. Nancy and the rest of the city to get the right forms and everything necessary so that we can get the grinder pumps installed when people make an application for them in the future. We do have a contract that with a company that will be furnishing the grinder pumps and installing them, as well as another company that will be hauling the wastewater to Cibolo Creek Municipal Authority when we actually generate some wastewater sometime in the future. The first thing on the list, though, was the FM 2252 TxDOT water line relocation. We have completed our review of conflicts of their, mostly with storm sewer, conflicts with expansion of road, conflicts with their loons that are widening out into the to the edge of the right-of-way. So we have a major water line that in many places needs to be moved, needs to be deepened. We've identified those places. We've provided an estimate of what that's going to cost for construction. And at this point, we're waiting on, the city is pursuing funding opportunities and looking at the funding. Maybe some of that money that you got could go into it, I don't know. But, but that's where we are on that. That's what I have to report tonight. If there's any questions on ongoing work.
Great, thank you, sir. Starting with right side, questions or comments for Tri-Hydro, Mr. Manyweather?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Moving on to item number 11, City Commission Committee Reports, Recommendations, Possible Actions. First up is Planning and Zoning. Had one meeting since last time we've met. And Chairman Dr. Miller, welcome. As soon as he gets you cleaned off there, you're ready. The floor is yours.
Evening, Council. As the mayor stated, we had one meeting since I last appeared before City Council. At that meeting, we considered a petition by Sean Willis on behalf of WMMT Ventures for rezoning, in summary, about 14 acres situated across from Arrowwood Estates. It's bordered by Door Lane, Nacogdoches Loop, and 2252. And this is the first step in getting approval for some construction on that area. That is, in fact, the rezoning. We want to rezone it from residential agriculture to neighborhood services B1. The development is going to be a mixed-use development. It's going to be a phased development. B1 includes both office and retail. The first building they have projected into the future is going to be about 20,000 square feet, 2 stories, and mostly an office building. We kind of put them through the ringer, but it didn't take very long. And I say that because either we're getting real good at our questions or the developers are getting real smart and presenting packages that are pretty much complete. Our meeting was only about 23 minutes total for planning and zoning. And Mr. Willis was very well prepared. And I come before you tonight with a recommendation from planning and zoning for approval, in anticipation of a public hearing this evening, and then City Council can vote on that, our recommendation, what public hearing decides to do.
Thanks, sir. And so what I'm going to do now is open up the public hearing, and then after that public hearing, if anybody any citizen wants to speak, and then after that, leave it up to council if they want to hear from the petitioner, from planning and zoning, and have a discussion about it. And remind you, everyone, that we have the COVID rules still in force for public hearings, which means that somebody can submit a question in writing that will be addressed by our city secretary. You don't have to be here to get a question into the record. But if you've done a question in writing and you're here, you don't get to do both. So if you happen to have done a question in writing, make a decision now whether or not you want the question read or whatever. And at the end, I'll ask the question of our city secretary. So I will open up the public hearing at 7:25 and ask, is there anyone that would like to speak on this petition? Okay, so don't run into each other on the way to the podium. Doesn't look like we have anybody. Going once, twice, 3 times before I close the public hearing. No, I will look at our city secretary and say, do we have any written comments or questions?
We do not have any written comments.
Okay, none. Okay. So if I talk slow, can I get it to 7:26? Dr. Miller, walk really slow. There it is, 7:26. So I am going to close the public hearing at 7:26 and turn to council and say, starting over on the right side, if you have questions for any or all. The petitioner who is here, Mr. Willis, is sitting over there in the audience, and we'd invite him up if you have any questions, or to planning and zoning, starting on the right side. Any questions, sir?
I got a quick question. The 14.8 acres, and there's save and accept a call 0.611 acre tract deeded to the state of Texas. What's that 0.611 acres for? Do we know, or do we care?
Good evening. I'm Sean Willis with Accuform Architecture, representing the owner. That acreage you're talking about was given to TxDOT to install the loon in front of the property on their new right-of-way plan.
Sir, any other questions for either planning and zoning or the petition? Ma'am?
No questions. I did watch the 23-minute meeting, and you all covered it pretty fast and well. Thank you.
I didn't watch the meeting, and I apologize, Doctor. Again, we're going to go back to that side of the road was intentionally going to be used as much as possible for retail.
Yes, sir.
We have office buildings going in there that are approved. Now, I don't have any intention of thinking that we would have 100% build out of retail on that side of the road, and there will be some office space going in, but do you think that's the best use for it right now?
It's supposed to be a phased development. Okay, it's going to be a mixed-use phased development. There's, I think, a total, at this point in time, of 3 other buildings are going to be put in on that property. This is the first step. The rezoning is the first step. So we get some more bites at the apple to maybe lead the developer where we want him to go a little bit more, or him lead us where he wants us to go a little bit. But since this is just the first phase of where we're going with the rezoning. So we anticipated the same questions you had. We said, well, more office buildings. We're talking 20,000 square feet. But we explored that, and we were satisfied with their answers.
Okay. Sean, do you have any direction on that?
As Dr. Miller said, the first phase that the owner is proposing is a 20,000 square foot office building, and it is on the corner of Dover Lane and Nacogdoches Loop. And the plan is to reserve the frontage along FM 2252 proper for retail development. We're planning on keeping all the office development off of the main thoroughfares and in the back of the property. I mean, we don't know exactly how many buildings we're planning, but there could be up to 10 buildings or so on this piece of property.
That is a large area, so yeah, you're going to be able to do a lot of things with it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Sure. Ma'am.
Yes, because it was brought up by Dr. Miller and Mr. Willis and in the packet, I realize this is a rezoning only request, but I do have some concern about a 20,000 square foot building regardless, because that's roughly half the size of an average, I think it's a Best Buy. And I'm not sure that's with the character. And I'm bringing it up because it was introduced. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So council, a revisit, based on anything you heard, do you have anything else? Okay, so leave it to you. If you want to, go with this recommendation and approve this.
I move to approve the petition from, for WMMT Ventures for the rezoning to B1.
I get a motion from place 3 for this request. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place 2 with a second. Any further discussion or questions? Left, right? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Again, thank you. Back to you, Dr. Miller.
Also, we bring to you, council, a recommendation on the resignation from the commission, Commissioner Valdez. And before you guys say what I said, well, suppose we don't recommend, does it mean you have to stay? He was pretty adamant that he wanted to resign. He has some other plans I think everybody, or most people are aware of. And so we unanimously approved or recommend that you approve his resignation.
Fair enough. So any questions for planning and zoning on this one? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
Place 3.
I second.
Motion to approve.
I second the
Place
motion.
5. With a second, any further discussion or questions? Right, left, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous again. And Commissioner Valdez, or former Commissioner Valdez, thank you for your service. Oh, yeah, she said, she corrected me, it's not effective till April 30th, so it's not former quite yet. So soon to be former Commissioner Valdez, thank you for your service on the Planning and Zoning Commission. We appreciate it very much. Sir, go ahead. Dr. Miller.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Moving on now to Quarry Commission, item B. Is Chairman Hawley here? Yes, he is.
Our current meeting has been canceled for May because of the canvassing of the election that's in May. So our next meeting will be in July. The quarry's been pretty quiet of recent months, so we have no other information to report. Any questions?
All right, sir, and start over on the left side. Questions or comments for Quarry Commission?
Just that I...
Hang on a second, guys. Go ahead. No, thank you.
I enjoyed meeting Mr. Payton after the new plant manager after the meeting last month.
Great, thank you.
No, go ahead.
That's all I have.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is 11C, Water Commission. And proudly introducing the newly minted chair of our Water Commission, Chairman Jim Mueller. Welcome. And I think he's had a few minutes or so with former Commissioner and Chair. Is he a former? Yes. Okay, good. Valdez. But welcome, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Thompson, and good evening, council members. You should have some information on the leak adjustments that we're going to go over tonight, and I'll jump right into it. For item number 1, we have a request for a water leak adjustment for 21032 Cedar Branch. This was triggered by a visit from the water department. They noticed a high water usage and went to the residents. They walked around the residence with the member, and then nothing was found. This was just prior to the Christmas holidays, so there was some difficulty in getting some people out there, but they did shut off the water and they did all the right things. And since they couldn't get a plumber out, the homeowner actually decided to start digging out their main water line, starting at their house and working away from the house. After 3.5 days of digging, they finally did find the water leak, and they went in there and repaired that themselves. During this entire time, they'd shut their water off and just turn on just for whenever they needed it. But they went in, they fixed the leak, and there's no leak detected currently at the residence. The Water Department determined that there was a 98,000 gallon leak over the billing periods here. And for the billing period of November 23rd to December 22nd, it was eligible for a leak adjustment. And the Water Department determined that possible credit of $847.08. This is the first incident that we have that we are actually calculating this credit adjustment at the Tier 2 rates, because that was decided by the council, I think, in November. We did vote 4-0 to recommend to City Council a credit of $847.08. And Mayor Thompson, back to you for questions and action.
Thanks, sir. Council, you have a recommendation for you for the water leak adjustment at 21032 Cedar Branch for $847.08. And just for for all of our information, is the petitioner here? Okay, doesn't look like it. All right. So, Council, starting on the right side, questions for the Water Commission on this one? Okay, so up to you on the decision on this recommendation.
I move to approve an $847.08 adjustment.
Motion from place one for the water leak adjustment for 21032 Cedar Branch. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place four with the second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, sir. Is it okay if I take number two?
Yes, sir.
Council, the petitioner for the water leak adjustment at 8289 Eskimo Forest is item number 211C2, has asked us to push this to May. They want to be present, and something came up and they can't be present, so we're going to push this one. So you'll see this next month. Okay. And sir, back to you for number three.
Okay, item 3, request for water leak adjustment for 9413 Blazing Star Trail, the billing period of June 22nd, August 24th. The petitioner notified us that their water bill was higher than normal. They went through a lot of troubleshooting on this, and eventually the leak was found in the irrigation system. We could not detect a leak because the leak only happened while the irrigation system was on, and the water department correlated that to irrigation use. They eventually did find the leak and get the leak repaired, which is in some of the documentation there. The water usage was significantly higher than historical in this property. So we took a look at it. We could not determine the size of the leak. However, their average usage was about 9,000 gallons. And for this billing period, they actually used 87,000 gallons. So for the calculation, what we did is we looked back at their historical records, took their highest bill that we had a record on, which was 23,000 gallons, and then we did a leak adjustment based on that highest usage that we had seen historically. That was calculated at the lowest tier rate because this was prior to the ordinance change. And the Water Commission voted 4-0 to recommend to City Council a credit of $546.80 based on the calculations that I mentioned. Mayor Thompson, back to you for questions and action.
Thank you, sir. And so, Council, left side, starting left side, questions. And actually, is the petitioner here for this one? Okay. Questions to the Water Commission on this one? Starting over on the left side. Okay. So, your decision on an action off the recommendation from Water Commission of $546.80.
Move to approve the water rate adjustment of $546.80.
A motion to approve the water leak adjustment at 9413 Blazing Star Trail for $546.80 from place four. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place one with the second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Moving on to item number 4. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Item number 4 for Water Commissioner, place number 1. The Commission recommends appointing Mr. Beard to the Water Commission, place 1 vacancy with a term expiring in September 30th, 2022. Mr. Beard is here today. He is a human resources manager with over 20 years of service in the Army. He is also a national champion semi-professional football player with the San Antonio Warriors. He has personally gone through our water leak adjustment process as a customer, and he appreciated the assistance that he got from that. He looks forward to serving the residents of the city of Garden Ridge. Mr. Mayor, over to you.
Great, thank you. And so council, if you'd like to ask any questions of the potential place one water commissioner, he again is here. Otherwise, I'll tell you what, if you have any questions, left side? Right side? Okay, take a motion on the recommendation.
I move to approve Mr. Baird's request to be our Water Commission's recommendation to approve Mr. Baird on the commission.
Motion from place 5 for Mr. Baird to be Water Commission place 1. Can I get a second?
Second.
Yeah. Okay, try it again. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place 3. Place 3 with a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Mr. Baird, thank you very much for volunteering to serve on the Water Commission and help our city move forward with our water company. I look forward to working with you and appreciate you're here tonight as well. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. Item number 5, Water Commission Place 3. For the first, as was mentioned by the Planning and Zoning Commission, we will regretfully recommend accepting the resignation of Commissioner Valdez.
Council, get a motion on the accepting of the recommendation for the resignation of Commissioner Jesse Valdez.
Move to approve.
Place 3 with the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place 4 with the second. Any further discussion or questions?
I'm not going to approve anymore.
Jesse, with everything you're resigning from, you're going to have free time now. It appears. Thanks for doing everything.
Sir, anything? Again, place 3, place 4. Can I get a all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. And yeah, former Commissioner Valdez, thank you. Former Chair Valdez, thank you. And I know that Jim thanks you as well. but amazing job. We'll talk more about it later, but amazing job. Really brought the Water Commission to a new level. And helped a lot of great people on that commission realize their potential, and can't thank you enough for all that you personally did and to help them as well. So thanks. And now item 5.3.
5.3, the Water Commission recommends appointing Mr. Stone to the Water Commission Place 3 vacancy with the term expiring September 30th, 2022. Mr. Stone is an Air Force veteran, and after a long period of service with the Air Force, he also served 20 years in the U.S. Postal Service as a senior transportation contract administrator for the Rio Grande District. He's also the owner of D.L. Stone Enterprises and provide products and services to the USDA. He hopes to bring his extensive contracting and business experience to improve our community. Mayor Thompson, over to you for action.
And so now turn to you, Council, for action on the recommendation to appoint Mr. Don Stone to Water Commission Place 3.
Move to approve Mr. Stone to place 3.
Place 2, to recommend Mr. Stone for Place 3. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place 1 with a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Mr. Stone, thank you very much. As you heard me say before, appreciate you stepping up to help us with a very important commission, moving our community to the future. We look forward to working with you. Thank you for being here tonight, too. And back to you for monthly activity report.
Nothing additional to what already has been discussed.
Well, again, thanks for stepping up, Chairman, Mueller, and look forward to working with you. And you've done a lot for the commission already, so we kind of know what we're getting already, and we really appreciate you being willing to put even more effort into it. And I know you've been trained really well too. So thank you for being part of this team.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up is item D, the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission, and I'm looking to see Chair. Yeah, so Chairman's not here, but the Vice Chair, Vice Chair Kniper's here. They had one meeting since the last council met.
Mr. Mayor and Council, at our last meeting, we had a training session on dark skies, and we are very appreciative for what Kamala ISD has done to keep the dark sky events, the city dark to our north and east, where the high school's at, with their lighting. They've done a good job. Having attended those events, athletic events, and being in the parking lot, I can guarantee you, sometimes it's hard to see when you approach whether there is really, and you know there's a football game, is it still on or is it off? Or it is the game over, because you can't see it coming down 3009. And that's, I think, a commitment to from the school district to that. We're also going to look to make Garden Ridge a dark sky city and not pollute the sky with overabundant lights. We want to keep it dark for the wildlife. So that's one of the new things that we're going to be looking at in the upcoming months, and we'll be working on, as well as being a monarch butterfly city. We want to be a dark sky city. And that was pretty much I think all of our events that came from that meeting.
Okay, starting on the right side, questions or comments for the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission?
Yes, I spoke to Ms. Williams, Denise Minor-Williams, who gave the presentation on dark skies. I spoke to her after that meeting. And she gave me her PowerPoint presentation because it is something, as I told the commission in citizens' comments, that planning and zoning has already addressed, that we hope to establish ourselves as dark sky when we do 2252. So her PowerPoint was very helpful, and the planning and zoning will be using it as well going forward.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to her when I see her at the next meeting. Thank you.
Vice Chair Kniper, thank you very much. Next up is 11E, Parks Committee, and I see if we have somebody from the Parks Committee that's going to represent, or Ms. Kane, go ahead.
I talked with Mr. Chamberlain this afternoon, and he informed me that the Parks Committee is working on plans for a July 4th celebration here in the city. And that's all I've got to report at this time.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And council, although chair isn't here, we can forward questions. So I'll go over on the right side and say, do you have any questions that you want or would like answered by the Parks Committee? Ma'am.
If we're going to do this, we need volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is 11F, Volunteer Garden Ridge. Dr. Miller's here. We're starting to come out of the COVID umbrella slowly, and Ms. Kane's got some numbers, but expect over the coming days and months, as we come out from under this, we can start to work the program and get it back to where we left off over a year ago now, unfortunately. But you have some volunteer numbers for us, right?
Yes, I do. For the month of March, the library had 151 volunteer hours, the Parks Committee had 68, and the bill stuffing crew had 26, totaling 245 volunteer hours for the city of Garden Ridge.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 12, approvals and authorizations. First one is a request to transfer a specific use permit held by CFM Storage LLC, and Ms. Kane, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can explain. We forwarded this, but go ahead and explain to council where we are with this.
Okay. The city received a request from CF&M Storage LLC. They're located at 19834 FM 2252 to be allowed, for the city council to allow the transfer of their special use permit that was issued by the Garden Ridge City Council on November 3rd, 1999. That special use permit was issued for the construction and rental of mini storage units with boat and recreational vehicle storage spaces. The property is currently zoned B2, and at that time, B1 zoning was allowed in the B2 zoning district. The property is a 5-acre tract, and it is known as Lot 2 of the Clay subdivision. The current property owner apparently desires to sell the property to, and with that sale of the property, they are requesting the transfer of that existing special use permit to the potential purchaser, who will be continuing the use of the property for the rental of mini storage units with boat and recreational vehicle storage spaces as well. Ordinance 13, Section 12, conditional uses allows the city council to transfer an existing special or specific use permit that is expiring because of a change in property or business ownership to the new owner without conducting public hearings, provided that there will be no change in the kind or level of permitted activity. The potential purchaser has specified that he will not be changing the use nor increasing the activity at the location. If council does vote to transfer the special use permit, there is also a request to attach to the special use or specific use permit that the continuance of the non-conforming impervious cover also be transferred with that permit transfer. Currently, the property is approximately 80% impervious cover. It's blacktop asphalt. And the current zoning ordinance, of course, our impervious cover limit is 1/3 of the property. And if council desires to transfer that special use permit in your motion to do such, we will need to state that the non-conforming or the continuance of the non-conforming impervious cover transfers as well. Do y'all have any questions?
Great explanation, thank you.
You're welcome.
So starting on the right side, see if you have any questions. Is Mr. Marbach here?
Yes, Mr. Marbach.
So the petitioners are here if you have any questions for them. And the only other thing I'll add is you heard Ms. Kane say that you have to include the non-conforming impervious cover to this to make it, to go through this whole thing. The easy thing is your motion, all you have to do is read what item A says. If you read that, you've covered it. So starting on the right side, questions for Ms. Kane or for the petitioners who are in the room?
Yeah. Right now, there's 80% impervious cover. If we approve this as is, the remaining 20% has to stay the way it is.
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to verify that.
Ma'am? Sir?
No, once again, John took my question.
I can further answer that question if I may. So there is no
Sir,
question.
I ask you to come to, just so we have it recorded. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. So there is no room for any expansions on the property at this point, okay? So there would be no further development on the place, just to make that clear.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you.
So barring any other questions, looking for a motion on this action.
I move to approve the request to transfer specific use permit held by CF&M Storage LLC located at 19834 FM 2252 to MHC 113 San Antonio, Texas LLC to include continuance of non-conforming impervious cover.
Have a motion, a perfectly read motion from place 3. Can I get a second?
Second.
Place 2 with the second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
See if I can read it. I don't mess it up.
Thanks for coming here, sir. Moving on to item number 12B, City Council use of social media. Was brought up last time, and I said we couldn't talk about it because it wasn't on the agenda. So put it on the agenda, and I'm going to turn to place 5 and say, now it's on the agenda. What would you like to talk about?
I think we all believe in transparency in all of our city government, and I just wanted to reiterate that I think that's important. I do also think that social media is an important tool for us, and we just need to be careful that we're representing our own views when they're our own views, and we don't censor. I don't believe in censorship. Thank you.
Okay, that's all you got? Okay.
Yes?
Does anybody have anything to add? I'll start over on the right side.
Yes, I wanted some clarification on what the city policy is about social media for council members.
Okay, so the policy for city council and the commissions is that we collectively do not engage in any city business on social media because, simply put, anything that we do on social media then becomes discoverable in any requests that anybody has, and then now your personal accounts that you're doing any of that with become subject to discovery, and so we have established that, and it's been that way for quite a few years, that we just don't do that. Now, you'll see that there's also an opportunity to link to what the city does, to refer to what the city's doing, but to have original comments on issues is something that we have to refrain from, because the other part of this is it can involve us in issues of quorum if it now is perceived that we're having a discussion about a topic that we may be acting on, looking to act on, or is going to be coming up in the future. So because if we do that, now it's subject for everybody else, all of us, to be reading it, and then somebody else, so to be able to control the discussions and to ensure that we maintain the ability to have it all be discoverable. That's why we've had that policy.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a written policy in place for commissions, but not for city council.
You are correct.
Thank you.
Would you like us to add the council to that?
No, what I would like is for the city to develop a comprehensive social media plan and policy. It's something that I've advocated for, will continue to advocate for. It's something that needs to be done. Some of the citizen comments I've heard tonight, I really feel like that council is a place of dignity and respect. We're here to do the business of the people, the business of the city. And, I'm not one to publicly respond to attacks. I generally let criticism roll off my back. But there were some things that said that were patently untrue. Number one, that you do have a social media account. You've got a Nextdoor account. And certainly some of the things that Shelby Trial was referring to. I think that word relationship to me also referred to you. So I think we need to be very careful about coordinated attacks on council. We need to look at the intent of, I think, also of what the council member was doing.
I'm sorry, but you're speaking in such generalities that I'm not
Well, I
exactly
mean, I
sure
can
what
be
you're
really
saying.
specific. I mean, I so did not want to go there, and I'm so sorry that Shelby opened that door to make accusations that I'm somehow not archiving things. When it's, you know, when there was an accusation made at the last council meeting about people's behavior on social media. And again, I really don't even care what people do on social media. You're all grown-ups. But what I don't like in the city, or I don't like on city council, is hypocrisy. And I am aware that you, while having said that we are not supposed to participate on social media, have 30 different responses on Nextdoor to various posts.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, somebody said that I don't have an account. I'm not responsible for what that person
Correct,
said.
correct. I
I've
agree
never
with
said
that.
I didn't have an account.
Okay, I agree with that.
First thing. Second thing, I'm not responsible for what Mr. Trowell said.
Correct.
Third is that the responses that you're referring to are my inadvertently hitting like buttons. That's it. That's all.
Okay, how many times does that happen?
I don't know. You apparently know.
I do.
But so this isn't going to be a debate, but I'm going to tell. I'd like to tell you a couple things about that. I wasn't even aware that it was happening until one time when it happened. Because if you want me to go through this, I will. When you read it on your phone, and I read it, I don't write on it. I do not respond to anything, and I have not responded to anything on social media. Okay, I have not. But when you read it and you see more, and you have a fat finger, and the like button is right below it, you can hit it without knowing. And apparently, that's what I had done. I didn't know about that, and nobody had ever said anything to me. But the one time that I did figure it out was the last time I did it, because when I saw it, I tried to undo it, because often in those kind of apps, if you hit it a second time, it goes away. When I did, it turned into a smiling emoji, or a laughing emoji. And all I could do then was, as the caveman with social media, I'm going, and I tried to reverse, okay? It didn't work, and you know, it's one of those things you go, geez, I hope nobody saw that. So then that person went out on social media and said that the mayor's laughing at me. So then what I did, days before the last council meeting, was I wrote privately to that person. I apologized. I told them that in no way, shape, or form would I ever laugh or make fun of any of their misfortunes or anyone else's.
Correct, sure.
And I said, and by the way, when I'm asking for your understanding and forgiveness for this stupidity on my part, you don't have to tell anybody I even apologized, because I'm not doing it for anyone else's benefit. I'm doing it because it's important to me that you know that I wouldn't do that to you. That person accepted my apology.
Okay, so should your...
Before, and if I may, before this council meeting happened.
Correct.
So what was troubling was that then up here, it became what was trying to be an issue, and my point was, why didn't you just talk to me? Why didn't you just say, hey, did you really do that? And I could say, oh, I did. It was really stupid, and I apologize to that person because I never would want them to think that I did that. Okay, I also can tell you that I wrote to Nextdoor and I said a couple things. I said, how do I get rid of these? Because once I found out about that, I found out I had all these other ones. I said, how to get rid of these? They wrote back to me, they told me how, and I did. And then I said, is there any way I can disable this? Because apparently I'm too much of a knucklehead with social media that I keep doing this. And they said, no, there isn't a way you can disable it, but they told me how to remove it immediately if I do it. So yes.
When Shelby Trial talks about archiving social media, does that also pertain to you removing your 30 different accidental responses on Nextdoor?
They're merely likes. There are no comments to that at all. Okay?
Well, I've heard you say before that even a like can be an indication of something on city policy that we should not be engaging in.
And so well, in fact, I'll tell you that they're actually archived because when I look at my account, it still says they're there.
No, it doesn't. I checked before we came.
Okay, when I look at it, they're there. Okay, it says
Well,
that they're
then you
removed,
move
but
them
it
to
says that they're
private.
there. Yeah, apparently. So yes, they are archived, and you know that was a mistake. Okay, that I don't know what else to tell you, but it was a mistake.
Well,
some
I'm
of those
addressing-
likes were pretty mundane. Like somebody had an end table for sale, and I hit like.
And
So-
some of them were not mundane, including a like that referred to Kay, Brian, and I as stupid. That wasn't a mundane one.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to
And
tell you now.
I'm telling you, I'm only bringing it up because Shelby Trial opened that door. Shelby
Well,
wanted to
and
be referred
Shelby-
to in person.
Shelby is not representing me in this.
No, Shelby's not, but I know you
Shelby
and
did not
Shelby
talk to
are
me about this ahead
very
of time.
close.
And Shelby making the comment about whether or not they're archived, it still has nothing to do with me. He's just saying that anybody that does this
That includes you.
has to be archived. Mine is archived. Mine were mistakes. I have a record that I wrote to Nextdoor and said, how do I remove this? And how do I prevent this from happening again?
Okay.
Which is not the same as deliberate posts and statements. Now, what I will say is, again, if y'all saw me like something like that, say something to me. Because I can assure you, I'm telling you, frankly, I didn't know. I didn't. And as I was unliking these, and by the way, when you do this, it's one at a time. And so it took a long time to go through these one at a time. And I really wasn't reading them all, but I noticed that some of them, as I said, were pretty mundane, you know, like in somebody that's selling a table or something. And so if you want to talk about communication, which you do, I'd say, ask me. Say, did you really agree that we're stupid? And my answer, frankly, would be, what are you talking about? It wouldn't be no, it'd be, I don't even know what you're talking about. So, you know, I'll apologize to y'all too, because I'm telling you, I could show you on my phone that the distance between like and see more is about 2 fingernails. And that's why it was happening. So yeah, I made a mistake.
Maybe I'm not talking to you, maybe I'm talking to Shelby Trial.
Well, okay, but you're talking to me. So
Yeah.
I'm responding and
Okay.
telling you that, and this was days before you brought this up, where the person, when I discovered through her statement that I was making fun of her because she went through some difficulty with the storm, frankly, I was aghast. I was like, I can't believe that that it looks like I did this in essence. And I explained it to her. I told her what I did, and she was very quick to say, I accept your apology. And again, I told her she didn't even have to tell anybody I did it. But y'all, you could have asked me. You could have, you know, I mean, this is back to when we talked about the storm and how you weren't contacting me. I don't know why you're not contacting me, but in this case, if you thought that I was calling you stupid, you could have called me out on it and said, did you really do that? And again, I would have said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I apologize if you got that impression. There is no way that I would have done that deliberately. No way.
Okay.
So does that explain any of it?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Okay. Sir.
I'm just going to interject one thing. I'm glad I'm not on this social media stuff. But I will say that you walked away from that 4th of July council meeting, and so did Shelby Trial, with the same attitude that we were stupid. And if you put it on their social media, then it's there. And I can confirm that.
Well, I mean, Shelby Trial confirmed that again tonight by starting his little speech saying that the last time he was here was when we canceled the 4th of July.
Anything? Does anybody have anything further for this? So, yeah, apparently that's a case of monumentally bad timing. And I think everyone knows me that I would not I would not back off of something that I did if I did it deliberately. I just, if I really meant it, you'd know I meant it, and I'd tell you. And if that post, and I'm not even familiar with the post, frankly, but if there was a post that said that y'all were stupid, and I said, and I hit like, I am 100% sure that was an inadvertent. Because I've never deliberately liked anything, because I've never deliberately done anything other than read the post. But it's pretty ugly. Number one, that that it's so easy to do that, and number two, that y'all thought I did that, because I didn't. Yeah, I apologize if it appeared that way, because I would not call you stupid, and certainly not call you stupid publicly in a forum. I mean, I can't come up with any good reason at all to do that. So, yeah.
Well, is there a solution to this social media thing? I think it's absolutely ridiculous that y'all are spending so much time on it.
I agree.
Out of council and out of business, and that we spend so much time on it in council.
I agree completely. And so to that end, and Councilwoman Swint talked about how this has been going on for a while, and we talked about this a year and a half ago, and talked about how we needed to come up with some kind of solution, and we never got any further than that for whatever reason. But I'll tell you that the staff, we've been working on a proposal to convert a part-time position we have to a full-time position that will then allow us to move some responsibilities and jobs around to have an individual work, in essence, part-time as a public information officer and work our online presence, because it's all the social media stuff, it's web, and you probably are aware that the web thing is something that whoever's got the time at the time works on. During the storm, I'm calling and writing to them saying, hey, let's do this, let's make sure this is on there. And depending on who got the text at first was the one that would post it. And it's been so ad hoc that we recognize that we need to do something about it. But again, being conservative and responsible with our resources, we looked at it and we've come up with a solution that we're working the details to include the impact on the budget, which is going to be very minimal for a multitude of reasons that I'll bring to you next month. And so in May, we're going to bring the complete proposal to you to kind of, put the bookend on what we started talking about in November of 2019. But yeah, this is an issue, and to get somebody that can, in essence, be a public information officer when it comes to the online presence and everything is something that's needed and something that we're going to work on and that we will bring to you next month. So that answers your concern that yes, it's an issue and we need to do something about it. And
we're going to set policy for council.
And we will, yeah, we'll draw something
I don't
up.
think there's anything been major done wrong here, to be honest with you. The week of the storm, I feel kind of bad because I wasn't able to put out any information. I don't think there's anything wrong with us putting out information if we had the ability. I had zero ability.
Yeah.
I had no communication with anybody by cell phone or landline or anything. So, I mean, I couldn't help. Somebody else could, that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know about Todd's situation. I don't know that much about it. I don't know if, you'd be able to shut people off or what the heck takes place. So you all work that out.
There's some pretty solid guidance out there on guidance, not mandates, but guidance on how to deal with, social media policies for councils and stuff like that. And been reading that for over a year now. And I would say also that having somebody that can dedicate more time to this, they can also help us to craft how we're gonna make that happen. It is what it is. We've got to address it. We've got to do something about it. And the discoverability of it is an issue that every time I read an article by some attorney or somebody in local government in Texas, they bring that up over and over and over again. as an issue, because if it becomes a problem with the individual, it then becomes the problem of the council, becomes the problem of the city, and, you know, it's our job to keep the city from being under fire and under litigation and those kind of things. So yeah, it's something we definitely need to do.
In all fairness to you too, Mayor, I mean, you were pretty darn busy during that period, and this may never happen again in our lifetime. If it does, I'm going to Cabo. I'm moving. So evidently Texas isn't my kind of weather. So anyhow.
So yeah, we'll be bringing you a proposal next month, and you know, I'm just going to make a simple plea. If you know, it's not a TOMA violation if one of you says, "Hey, did you really call us stupid?" And I go, "No, what are you talking about?" And we could have resolved it however long ago that was. Apparently it was in July. So we've been carrying this for 9 months.
We haven't been carrying this for 9 months. I wasn't that concerned about it until it was brought up again today. And I have had personal discussions with you about how difficult you are to speak with sometimes. If you remember, I've told you it's like going to the principal's office. At various points in times, you haven't been on speaking terms with some of us, where it was a situation where we could reach out to you and felt like you were going to be responsive to us. I mean, I can cycle back. You're talking about the public information officer. That's something that we were working on together in the fall of 2019, and you got a little bit disenchanted, we'll say, with my actions around the market, and didn't speak for me a couple months. Also told me that the expert that I was consulting with the Texas Association of Municipal Information Officers, you referred to, I was consulting with her, asked you to speak with her, you didn't speak with her, you referred to as a so-called expert. So sometimes when you're saying that we can just reach out and talk to you, that it doesn't always feel that way. I mean, I think you can cut the tension up here on this dais tonight.
This is becoming personal up here, and it should not become personal.
No, it's not personal, but you keep saying that we should reach out to you. We should do this with you. We should do that. We should be the, we don't owe you that.
And I never said you did.
Right.
But so you're saying or insinuating that during the storm, you didn't ask me what was going on because you didn't feel you could talk to me.
Correct.
Because
we haven't had that kind of working relationship.
And again,
lately.
I will not make this personal, because the discussions that we had and the disagreements we had became pretty personal, and I'm not going to go there. But I don't think it's I don't think your characterization of it is quite fair, and I don't want to go there.
Okay.
I mean, we can talk privately about this.
No, fine. I'm just saying if the continuing mantra is that we should reach out and talk to you, you're very available for that. I'm just telling you some of the reasons why. But that it doesn't happen, I think, as fluidly as you'd like it to.
Okay. So at that, again, you and I can talk about this offline further, because I think it is a little bit personal, and it's not necessary or not appropriate to talk about up here.
I agree.
Well, at this point, I don't think it's productive to talk about it any further, other than to say, folks, if you gotta say something, even if it's a nasty note to me that I don't like the fact that you agreed that I was stupid or whatever. But to hold on to it for 9 months is unfortunate at best. Okay. Anything else on this topic before we move on, sir? Sir. Actually, before we go, because there were some accusations thrown out, and I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but I'm going to ask the person that did talk about it a little bit last time, Do you want to talk about the other accusations about social media, and that was brought up even with a citizen comment about people removing posts and all that? Do you want to go there, or do you want to leave it?
I believe it's been clarified, and to my knowledge, it's been rectified.
Okay, fair enough.
I've made my position clear, and supporting Lisa, of course, as far as the need for a communication policy, and yes, you will proceed for us, and Mr. Megan, but the fact that sometimes you won't reach out to us for help, I mean, on any matter, so crisis or not, that's all. We're just asking for more communication, more flow, and less selectivity about who you talk to and who you don't talk to.
Okay. Anything else? Moving on to item number 13, updates. First one is the COVID-19 update, and pertinent things to our community. The CDC is changing the rules, gosh, almost daily now. And the most recent is people that are vaccinated. 1 week you could hang out with one family that was unvaccinated, you know, a household, not a family, but a household. Now you can hang out with anybody, and you're not required to quarantine if you come into contact with positive cases. All their information said that it was 2 weeks after vaccination up to 3 months. And today, I spent too much time trying to find that again, and for the life of me, I couldn't find the 3-month thing. It's just disappeared. They didn't say they rescinded it, it just isn't there. So we're still looking for that because that's important, because it has serious implications on our operation here, because we're coming up on 3 months for some of the people that have had shots in the city. So if we can't, you know, so hopefully they've rescinded it and they just don't have anything. But it's odd because they've had 3 months and now they don't have an end to it. You know, you think they'd go 3 months to 6 months or 3 months to a year or something, but there's nothing there. We're still researching it. I asked admin to help, and we'll keep you posted on that. But we're okay for now, and we'll be okay even till the next council meeting on it. But very shortly after that council meeting is when we end up with an issue with the 3-month thing. Let's see, in the state of Texas, the emergency declaration was reissued as it is every month. It was reissued on March 6th for 60 days, or excuse me, for 30 days. And the governor put out a new executive order, Executive Order 35, and that executive order was put out on the 5th. And it is to reiterate and to ensure that everyone understands that either if you're a public entity or you receive public funds, that you can't, quote, discriminate against somebody that has not had the vaccine. So the emphasis being on it's still up to the individual, and also and what's made the press more than anything else is the no passport, no vaccination passport. You've heard some of that stuff in the Northeast, but our governor is emphasizing that there will be no vaccination passports in the state of Texas. Executive Order 34 is still in place, and that's the biggest one with the mask, the removal of mask mandate and fully opening Texas. In the county, no new orders. The TSP rate is still very low, and they're still putting out the reports. I have spoken to the county since the last time we met, I would say probably 8 times. And county commissioner, but mostly, I've spoken to the county commissioner, but also to our emergency management director about getting a vaccine clinic here. Some press and some hay was made with that Bulverde had one, but it wasn't actually Bulverde, and they keep beating me over the head that it's not Bulverde. It was the Bulverde Senior Center working it out as the Bulverde Senior Center. The city of Bulverde didn't have a deal and did not work with the county, apparently, according to the county, to do that. So because that was, I said, hey, what's going on? I've been bugging you for 3 months about, you know, okay, there's a vaccine. When do we get to be part of this and have a vaccine clinic here? And then all of a sudden you got one in Bulverde, and they insist that it wasn't the city and the county working together. It was the Bulverde Senior Center. That said, the last time that our county commissioner and I spoke was just a matter of a couple days ago, and he said they're working up the dates and the plan, and they fully intend to do it down here. And then I spoke to our emergency manager again after that discussion to talk about how we're going to get the list going and that kind of thing. One of the things that I'll tell you, I think is important, is they said, well, you come up with a list for Garden Ridge. And I said, okay, I agree, but it can't be an exclusive list, because probably everybody up here knows somebody that either has got a shot or 2 shots from some place that wasn't even in our county. And so point being that we certainly appreciate that shirts and San Antonio and you name the place and the concern has allowed our residents here to get the shots, and we wouldn't want to then go thank you, but now ours is exclusive to Garden Ridge. And after we talked about that, they agreed, and we're still working that too. But hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get some word out, and we'll get one down here as well. So, and there we kind of changed the focus to, okay, we need to service the southern part of Comal County. Not that there's a lot of distance, but the southern part of Comal County is what we're trying to do. So that's county stuff. Then for our city, Ordinance 227 is still, of course, in force. And remember the RV amendment that we revoked March 4th. It took a month for it to become effective, so April 4th it became effective. And the PD now is working to do a soft enforcement of that, making sure people understand. One thing that I hadn't thought about, because it's been so long, that there's some people that don't understand that it's an ordinance with an amendment that relieved the ordinance for a while, because they haven't even lived here that long. So, they've only been under the rule of you could park an RV in your front driveway indefinitely and let somebody live in it. So they've had to do a little bit of education with that too, but they're doing a great job with that. And we are, like I said, working a soft kind of reinforcement of it. We're still doing the enhanced cleaning, the enhanced cleaning, excuse me, and still encouraging CDC safe practices. And something that Councilwoman Bauer made mention of, I think it was you, about masks in the community center. We have been having discussions in staff about what's our next step with mask mandate and all that. And we're really moving towards no longer having a mask mandate, but we're going to take another couple weeks to take a look at it and take a look at our staff. The one thing we did talk about, and we've got a legal opinion already, that if we do this, we probably won't back off of the library's mask mandate, because that's the one place where there's a concentration of people in our city offices that, because, and everybody in our department heads had a chance today, we talked about this, and the unanimous consensus was that that all their people have the ability to control their environment, even admin, because they have the glass and they can back off and all those kind of things. But the ones that don't is the library. And we found out that we could have selective locations of mask mandates, and the library could in fact be one of them. So we're working on that. We'll work up what the policy is and let you know. But asking the department heads to kick it around with their departments until the next time we have another staff meeting, which will be in a couple of weeks. That is the Nation, Texas County, and Garden Ridge update on COVID. Starting over on the right side, do you have any questions or comments? No. Ma'am? Sir? Ma'am? Okay. Next up is discussing the funding and expenditures during the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. And we have the chart here, tell you where we are with some of these expenditures with the touchless items. And I'd like to turn it over now to Mr. Diamond so he can give you the overview of it.
We're still in the process of updating all of our plumbing fixtures in City Hall and the community center to automatic, along with getting automatic lights installed for offices and hallways. Some of our automatic water fountains for indoors have came in. We have maybe 1 or 2 that were still left on the receiving, and once those arrive, we'll probably have everything will be installed at the same time. We got we settled on one of the bidders for the automatic doors. They do a lot of big box stores like H-E-B and Walmart. So they're gonna build a custom sliding doors for the community center and City Hall. And that'll probably be done late May, June. And that's about all I have to report. We did settle on we did find a person for water softeners. So now we're just checking out plumbers to find out how to rough in the plumbing before that gets installed. So that'll protect all of our new fixtures that we have installed. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mr. Steinmetz. Starting over on the left side, questions or comments on this?
No, thank you.
Okay, next is item number 3, possible action. So this is the open opportunity. If anyone on council thinks that there's anything we need to do, either get consensus or a actual vote on any action on matters related to COVID-19. So starting over on the right side, anything? Okay, thank you. City council projects. We'll start with speed limits within the city of Garden Ridge, and Councilman Lanzey's got that one.
2 months ago, we had a citizen mention something about reducing the speed limits throughout the city. I want everybody's input on this, actually. The only people I know right now to refer to would be Windcrest, and what they had done many, many years ago was reduce everything in the city to 20 miles an hour. They went through, now, this wasn't a council decision. I understand it was actually a vote that was taken up. So, you know, if we decide to do this, it's going to be something we vote on, the entire community. So there's always going to be the break-in period or forgiveness period, a couple months to quit or to get people used to a lower speed limit. But Windcrest has a policy now that everybody, whether it's a mayor, a council person, or anybody in the city, gets a ticket if they break the speed limit and get caught. So this is stuff you have to look at if we're going to reduce the speed limits in our city. It is possible, it's difficult, but I would like y'all to get with as many people as you know and see if they think it's necessary. We have a speed limit in Trophy Oaks at 20 miles an hour. Not too many people paying any attention to it, but nothing the police department can do about it. But at least they keep it down to a reasonable amount, most people. So we need input to see if it's worth talking about in the future. And I think next month, if we can get the input from them, we'll keep this on the agenda for just one more month, and if nobody thinks it's worth it, then we'll drop it.
Okay, so I'd suggest a couple things. Since it's on the agenda, we can talk about it, and then we can also, part of this would then be to do what you said, to then give you the opportunity to talk to anybody about it over the next month, to bring back either you've thought about it more and/or you've talked to some people and you have either more of an opinion or more of an informed opinion. But there's some play into this, obviously, with law enforcement and the legality of some of this as well. So perhaps we kind of lay the groundwork for you to do that research by talking about it now as well. You good with that? Yeah. So I think maybe starting with the chief. He's smiling because I didn't. This is not planned by any means, but you know, you have obviously a lot of experience with speed limits. You have a lot of experience with changing speed limits, and some food for thought. No decision being made tonight, obviously, but food for thought. So then everyone can go out and talk to folks and give it some thought before we come back and talk next month.
It's a little difficult to answer that because the first thing I was going to do is refer to Cynthia because I was under the impression that there was something went into effect a few years back that you could not post a speed limit
De
of
minimis,
20
yeah.
without meeting certain criteria.
So, okay, I'll give you a bye for a minute and say, Cynthia, are you prepared, and we didn't prepare you, we didn't tell you this was going to happen, but are you able to speak to this now, or do you want to wait till next month?
Yes, sir. So the city has the ability to take speed limits down to 20 miles an hour, so long as they make the necessary findings that it's for, health and safety of the traveling public and the residents. You can do that for city streets. And so for those streets that are public streets, the city can make those decisions, of its own accord. You just have to go through the correct process of, drafting an ordinance and indicating which streets, going through the publication process, on that. If the city wants to take any speed limit down below 20 miles an hour, then the information that Chief gave us is absolutely correct. You have to have traffic studies. You have to go through that entire process in order to get to a lesser speed limit.
Yeah.
So the city does have the authority across the board to change its speeds on city streets. Now, those streets that wouldn't be affected, of course, is going to be 3009 and 2252. Even though those portions of those roads come through the city, those are actually state roadways because they're farm to market, or they're classified as different roadways other than city street.
Or private street.
And then the private neighborhoods as well.
The private neighborhoods as well, they are in control of their own, the speed limit on their streets. So that's why I say it has to be a public roadway that the city, that is within the city's control.
Okay. Chief, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, the only other thing at this point would be, I'm not sure how that would affect George Ranch, being as how they're entered into the contract with transportation code enforcement and so forth, being private roads.
There's definitely some issues that
So there would have to be some things looked at there.
Okay.
I guess I'll go out on a limb and say that I'm not a big proponent of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, but that's not my decision. So I don't know what information you're looking for at this time.
No, and actually, then let me ask you, you probably have an informed opinion about why you're not a proponent of them. Would you care to share that?
I personally think that 30 miles an hour is slow enough. We don't have the congestion on our streets that I understand Windcrest, Selma, Schertz, a lot of their areas have 20s. They also have neighborhoods that the streets are blocked on one or both sides by parked vehicles. We don't have those issues here. We have open roadways. We have houses that are further away from the streets. We have larger yards for children to play in. They don't need to be playing in the street because we've got 3/4 to 2, 3, 5 acre tracks. So I'm a proponent of roadways are for vehicular traffic and movement, and 30 miles an hour is sufficiently slow to handle that.
Ms. Kane, you've been watching this stuff for quite a while. Do you have, and again, I'm asking because I just want to give them food for thought tonight, and then all of them will have the opportunity to talk about whatever they want, but then we'll all go out and give it some thought and do some research and come back with a little bit more informed information. But do you have anything just for food for thought?
No, I think really what Chief and our city attorney have both stated it very well, what we need to look at, what we can do, what we can't do. So
Okay.
I really don't have anything else to add to it
So-
right now.
So coming up here now, start over on the left. Anything that you want to talk about this now before we go out and examine it and come back in a month?
No, because I agree that Chief's input as well as Ms. Trevino's. I mean, I think that's critical to the question. I just wish there was a way on some of our speedways, like Garden Ridge Drive, it could be monitored more closely, and I realize that's a manpower issue. Yeah, so.
I'm not sure we've got a speed limit problem. Well, let me rephrase that. We have a speed limit problem on one road that I live off of. Unfortunately, that belongs to Canal County. But that's a racetrack in the morning and in the evening, particularly with construction people going to from construction sites. And hopefully we'll see a little bit of county activity out there. I made a request the other day about that because it's gotten bad again. But we can't do anything about that road. That's Batcave. So the rest of it, yeah, our houses sit far back. Nobody's really parking on the road. I think 30 is okay. I'll ask around.
Okay. Let me come back to you, since it's yours. You have the last word.
Yeah, I'm for asking around. We often have citizens say they want a lower speed limit, but they don't really specify on which roads they're referring to. So I think we really need to narrow that down and see if it's something that we can do something about or not, and get a consensus on those kinds of things.
This came up about 10 years ago on city council, and at the time, I think there was a statutory reason why we had to stay with the 30 mile an hour, because we were a city under 5,000. So we were more under the state rules as opposed to home rule. I don't know that. It sounds to me from what you two were saying, the attorney and the chief, that may have changed over the last 10 years, but I was hoping to, at that time, to lower at least Forest Waters to 20 miles an hour, because those roads were hilly and curvy and really had a lot of islands on them, and I thought they were pretty dangerous in places. Of course, at that time, we couldn't do anything. But it has come up, and I'm all for looking at it again.
And Mayor, if I could, I double-checked the statute. The city can go to 25 miles an hour, not 20, 25 miles an hour without all the other.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, whatever we do is going to be citywide. There's going to be no exemptions. So if we go to 20 or 25, it's going to be everywhere. So as you're talking to people, bring that up too. It's not an easy process. This is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of discussion, I guess, and nothing will probably be done until we can actually vote on it, which may be next May. So we have quite a bit of time. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. I'm kind of concerned about what the one citizen that come up here and said, and then also a couple people I talked to, they kind of confirmed it also, that they thought, and they do a lot of walking, spend a lot of time outside in the older section, so they're concerned with the speed too. And that's all the input I've had at this point. So I would appreciate if y'all could find out a little bit more about it from other people and let us know. I don't care. It makes no difference to me whatsoever.
Okay, thanks. So we'll leave this on the agenda. We'll come back. We'll have had the opportunity to do a little bit more polling, research, and come up with how we want to proceed. Is that good for you for this time?
Yes.
Okay. Next up is number 2, Animal Foster Program with Councilwoman Swint and Councilwoman Bauer. Who wants to?
I can address what we did. After Brenda was here, our citizen was here last month, we did schedule a meeting. We had a meeting with Mr. Lohman, with Ms. Trevino, Ms. Kane, and Ms. Swint, and myself. I think that was it. Anyway, and we discussed the feasibility of it, and obviously a major criteria would be the city's liability with any kind of foster program, whether there be, fostering animals from our facilities, for example, and so on, or representing that we're fostering for the city of Garden Ridge, there's just a lot of liability issues. And I think Brenda understood that more clearly once we met again. Mr. Lohman is concerned about, because he's worked so hard for 12 years to establish a really wonderful reputation for our animal program, and to have it just fly up in his face or something, we really want to respect that. So our thought was, and actually at this time, or as of last month, we had no animals in our control, in our care otherwise. So some things we tossed around were creating a list, if you will, soliciting names of people who would be interested in fostering, not representing the city, but just within the city, because there was always animal rescue breeds and so on and so forth. Again, not within the city, but just citizens creating a group. We also proposed, and I've addressed this, I don't have an answer back, creating a small, somewhat attractive area up by Public Works perhaps, an outdoor area, if you will, for exercising the dogs. Maybe we could establish something, we don't know the legality of this, but establishing something that those dogs, not cats, but those dogs that are in our city's care for however long would have an outdoor space, a more personal outdoor space, if you will, a more, I don't know, rather than a concrete and chain link, create a fenced area out there close enough to Public Works that the animal could be walked out and exercise and get some human interaction and so on, sunlight and so forth and so on. All good, warm, fuzzy stuff. Maybe create a chain link fence for safety, but also enhance the look of it with, say, large boulders and so on around it, so it doesn't just look like a big pen up there. So these are things we're looking at. Again, I think she has a more clear understanding of our concerns with liability and not interfering. It's possible that we would consider, and again, we don't have legal input on this, but for example, when dogs and cats are taken to our off-site vet, so to speak, possibly could work up something where we could be, for myself, for example, could be, an authorized transporter of that animal to the surgery center or something like that. Again, don't have the legal input on that, but just a way to work with Eric, not disrupt Eric, but support Eric and support the idea of foster. We're lucky in that we don't have a lot of foster animals here. Although, again, and we stated this, we want our city to be respected and understood that we do definitely care for our animals, but we also don't want to be a dumping spot. So just programs like that, and we also address the whole concept of tags. We've beat our heads up trying to figure out how to get more people register their animals. And at one time, you recall a few years ago, Mr. Mayor, that I worked with you on a program to try to get a gentleman out to do another professional walk, and I took him to our park and everything. It was a way of having perhaps in some given January an animal expo after things the holidays are over and so on. Having some sort of an animal expo with vendors and so on and so forth, and offer a promotion where you get a discount or perhaps a free registration if you come up with your papers at that expo. There'd be other stuff for people to attract them. The problem we ran into this last time on this expo is we found that we couldn't find a vet, even local vets, who were willing to contribute their time because it was such an unknown as to how many shots they'd have to have on hand. Could be a major expense for them, not knowing, just having no idea how many pets might show up. And they would be forced to, what do you do with all the inoculations and so on that are more or less left over. So that was a concern. That was a major roadblock to having that. So the whole animal concept is something we still are just struggling with, how to go forward. But we've talked about it, and we've not heard back. Neither one of us have heard back from Brenda on any input she might have. I think she was comfortable after our meeting, knowing more about our concerns and the city's concerns. We just need to figure out a way to again, solicit people who would be interested if there's an animal that shows up. But it's a matter of coordinating with Ms. Trevino at this point.
Okay, so how would you like to proceed?
Well, I can coordinate with Ms. Trevino. I can say, I can meet with her. I actually will see her Monday
And possibly I can say what exactly are our parameters. We haven't spoken about it since that meeting, since the foster program meeting. Guidelines on, because I wasn't involved in the first foster program meeting with Ms. Trevino as well. So what are the guidelines that we would have to have if we go forward representing the city or just in general? So I think I'd obviously like to keep it on the agenda. It's going forward type of thing. And I'll just do my best to get more information by next. I think we've got all the input that we can or should or need from Mr. Lohman until we have additional ideas and find out, what do you think, Eric? Because
Okay.
he's our focus.
All right, we'll keep it on the agenda, and
Yep.
any comments on this over here?
No, he covered it really well, but I did want to throw out there, just for information purposes, that Shirts has now switched over to microchipping instead of registering pets, because it's just difficult for people to come up, every year to re-register. So that's the direction that they're taking.
Okay, great.
Your discussion went a little bit far away from fostering. I thought that when you fostered something, you wrapped it up, took it home, and provided it a home until somebody wanted it.
Well, it's always going to morph with me, okay?
Well, you were talking about pens and people walking stuff and stuff like that.
But that
I
had to do with
thought your foster program was to foster a dog for a certain amount of time until somebody wanted it.
Yes.
Okay, then
But
why?
that could be incorporated into an additional space. In other words, again, this is just throwing this out here, Brian. Let's say a citizen is more or less been vetted or is in the program, because that's another issue. We can't just let anyone take our city dogs, quote unquote, just because they want them to foster them, if you will. But we could have a list, if you will, of people. Again, I don't know if we can, but that we could have a list of people who say, okay, we've got these 12 people that are willing to come up and coordinate with Eric, in other words, help with fostering that animal, socializing it, whatever, caring for it, so on. And it would not be random. There would be an assigned, like 1 hour on Thursday mornings from 9 to 10. Those in the foster program could come up and coordinate, say with Eric or whomever, is appointed, and go up and maybe take that dog into that area. So it's like an oversight thing as well. They're not necessarily going to the home. So it's a variation of that.
Okay, we'll keep it on the agenda,
Okay.
and we'll see how this develops. Thank you. Next is item number 3, Commonwealth ISD events, and we have Councilwoman Swint and Councilman Arvidsson on this. You want to take it?
I'm still collecting information, and I did finally hear back from Steve Sanford with Comel ISD, and his email was really specific to the Gold Card Senior Citizen Program, that when you sign up for that, you can also sign up for an email that sends you out all of the available events if you're one of the Gold Card holders. So I feel like I'm collecting little pots of information from here and there, and hopefully we'll get it into some cohesive package eventually. Todd, got anything?
I did take a little poke at Steve as well.
Did you?
There's got to
Good,
be a
good.
way to do this. I just
Right.
think they've got higher priorities, especially
Right,
given the
for
little
sure.
blow up that they had over the mask issue that's really absorbed
Right.
them over the last month. I also directly went to the principal of the new high school, Matt Deloach, and spoke with him about it. I don't know if he's reached out, but he informed me he was going to have his secretary, somebody in the front office there, get a hold of Kat or somebody here and just set up a way that they would communicate back and forth what events are going on at the high school. Now, I don't know if that's happened because this was just last week. Not yet. Okay. I'll harass Matt again. He'll be all right.
Yeah. He takes it well.
Yep.
Okay, does anybody else have anything on that? Questions, comments on it? Sir? Number 4 is update on Vulcan Construction Materials LLC project, and it's Councilman Arvidsson.
I'll keep this one really short and sweet. This is kind of for the citizens out in the city and everything else. That quarry that was gonna go in over at what was the White Ranch down on the corner of 399 and FM 76 currently is on hold. They essentially lost their court case and they pulled their air quality permit. This is a rather huge win. You know, you're looking at several hundred trucks a day potentially coming through our city that for at least the near future, until there's a counter suit and everything else, is off the table. It's not going to happen for a while. If you want some more information on it, there's lots of stuff posted up about the Vulcan Quarry. The judge basically dropped the hammer on TCEQ and the Vulcan Quarry people and said you were making up facts. And it was very directed, very blunt, and a very big win for the people in the area, in my opinion. If nothing else comes up on it, we don't need to keep this on the agenda. I just wanted to bring that up to everybody one time here. Yeah.
We'll plan to take it off, but if anything comes up, we'll put it back on.
Perfect.
Anything over here on that?
Real quick, there's a lot of people that put in a lot of time and effort to block this, and they were successful. Congratulations to them.
Anything?
Actually, yes, they came to city council and made a pitch
They did.
a while ago, too.
That concludes B. Item C, mayor's projects. The winter storm lessons and after action plan. We've met 3 times now, and we're moving forward with. One of the things that I'm asking the department heads to do is make it last longer than them. So they learned some things, and they probably, if that storm happened tomorrow, they would use those lessons that they learned, but it might not happen for 30 years. So they're in the process of writing some of this stuff down, and to make sure that it lasts longer. Also, we're talking about equipment, supplies, and the potential budget modifications and implications to some of that. We've talked also about that it's not about having another 60-year freeze, but what kind of things that we could have that would address a lot of potential issues, not just that very specific one. They're doing a great job. We're moving forward with that, and we intend to have it all distilled into not a glossy bound report, but it's still nevertheless a report for y'all. And then also how that has potential budget implications. Still working with CPS on grid priorities. Pretty interesting. I'm not impressed with their line of questioning, but Ms. Kane has been communicating with them again, and you want to tell them about that?
One of the things that I questioned CPS about during the winter storm event was I thought city facilities and city infrastructure had a priority. After some getting them addresses, meter numbers, that over a course of 2 or 3 couple of days, we finally started experiencing here at city facilities, and it was rather noticeable throughout the city, that we went on to more of a rolling blackout like they were describing, because what we had been experiencing was not what they were describing as the rolling blackouts. One of the things that they did have a suburban city summit, and one of the things that I questioned in that also again was, what is it going to take to get city infrastructure, critical infrastructure, our city facilities as a priority? We were not the only suburban city, of course, who experienced this. Many, many other cities, in fact, all across the state experienced problems with the water. So I received a call Friday morning from CPS, our representative, wanting to verify the addresses of our well sites. Of course, where I was at, I did not have those addresses handy, but she was using the addresses that I had given them during the storm period through some text messages. So I was informed that they were working with their engineers concerning prioritizing our well sites. One question I was asked was, did we have generators? I told them, yes, we did, but because of the types of outages we were experiencing, we were running through our fuel. And that was, becoming very, very concerning for us. But anyway, we will see what happens, and hopefully critical infrastructure will get some sort of prioritization in future events that are affected, or where the electrical energy is affected. So that's right now all I've got to report, and hopefully it will come out to something that's very positive for our infrastructure.
Yeah, my concern is their line of questioning. So you have generators at those sites? Well, yeah, so we still need to have those identified as being critical infrastructure on the grid, and they need to stay energized. And it makes me nervous when they think that there's an option of, we can turn them off because they got generators. So, which, is what happened. We are working with Comal County Emergency Management and the Lions Club to create an opportunity for community emergency response involvement. This is something that we actually started talking about a year ago when COVID hit. But the problem was the people that would be involved weren't coming out of their house. Now that people, the people are starting to show up at the meetings and starting to see the light of day again, we're able to move this forward. And we have quite a bit of resources with the county, and actually another county is willing to help as well, to give folks community emergency response team training, which helps individuals as well as and empowers individuals to then be part of groups to do multiple different things in the cases of emergencies. So we're going to start with some discussions in a meeting next week. Our emergency manager has already connected us to some CERT folks in the county. So this is pretty cool, because the more people we get involved with this, the better, not only from the very important aspect of taking care of themselves, but also then when they have the bandwidth to help take care of others. I also had a lengthy discussion with the Comal County Emergency Manager regarding the storm. And I called him and I said, okay, so is there something else we could have done? There's talk out there that we should have done this, that, and the other, and we should have had these plans and those plans. And I said, frankly, I'm a little confused. I've been involved with emergency management for quite a while, long before I got here. And I said, there is no specific plan for a freeze. Should there be, and is there anything we could have done differently? And he said, and he was emphatic, and he said no. He said, no level, and I'm going to give you the quote, no level of planning at the local level can overcome a situation when a state has issues as it did, and that every level was adversely affected in this situation. He also told me that, you sound like you have some questions and some doubts about this. And he said, but I can tell you that there's talk about our city response being an ability to maintain services, including the water, was the envy of others, to include larger cities, not to be named, larger cities that had lots of problems. So, and he was emphatic about that. He said, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but you understand that a lot of folks looked at and said, how did they, what special stuff did they have? And it was, yeah, I mean, and we had a long talk about this, and it was very interesting. But we still remain partners with Comal County Emergency Management. They are our emergency managers. Our plan is their plan is our plan. We sign off every couple of years on it, Again, I just wanted to touch base with him and make sure that I wasn't missing something. They remain, they remain ready to support. In this situation, there was no support, and his point was the state wasn't supported and the county wasn't supported. I mean, it was just it was a disaster. Let's see. Does anybody have anything they want to ask or add to C1? Starting over on the left side.
No.
Sure. Sir. Ma'am. Okay. Next is communication report. So on March 8th, had a meeting that I asked for, and they were kind enough to hold. TxDOT. It was 8 people on the phone call to talk about our sign at the loon that they're going to be building, and it was actually comical. Ms. Kane was sitting there listening, and it was funny because they all reported in. Well, first of all, everybody's on the phone, and I'm saying, well, who's on the phone? I mean, they all know each other, and we don't even know who they are. So I get them to identify who they are, and then there's silence, and it's kind of who's on first. And so y'all know me, and I said, how about if I start this? And so I just launched into, this sign is very important to us. It's a big piece of communications to our citizens, and we understand that you have procured the land. We understand you're building a loon, but as far as I can tell, it's not going to happen for a long time. And my concern is tearing down or moving, I should say, the sign to back over to our property before you excavate and move earth for the loon is going to create a situation where there's not going to be sight distance to see it unless you're sitting on Batcave and only Batcave. And I said, so I commit to you that within 48 hours of you saying, we're getting ready to do something out there, we no kidding will move that sign. And I said, if I have to go out there with a sledgehammer myself, we'll do it. But you have our word that we're not going to drag our feet the minute you say, okay, we really are going to do work out there. And the gentleman, he's the project manager in essence, and in the TxDOT world, he's pretty high up there, said, okay. That's what he said. He said, okay. And I looked at Ms. Kane and went, okay, so what are we saying? And the bottom line, and then they all jumped in to confirm what his okay was, and it was very frankly that they will let us know before they start the work there, give us a couple days notice as a minimum, and then we'll move the sign. And then we also found out that it's not going to happen for over a year from now. Over a year from now. So that sign's going to be there for a while, and we have an agreement with them, and then they put it in writing and send it back to us, and so all's well so far. So we have the sign for a while.
Hell, the bridge at Evans won't be done for a year.
Yeah, I know. But they were very, and then again, I asked them at the end of the call, could I have a confirmation of this in writing, and they were kind enough to send us something. So yeah, we're good. So, but still, you see somebody trying to tear down our sign, give us a holler.
Keep a close eye on it.
And then also for Coffee with the Mayor, I've been doing just the second Mondays, kind of coming out of COVID. Now I'm going to go to second and fourth Mondays. We'll do second and fourth Mondays will be coffee in here. We're still making sure that, we have coffee a different way than the coffee machine from before. We're doing it from a dispenser and with disposable cups and all that kind of thing to just allay anybody's concerns. But so it'll be the second and fourth Mondays. Citizen contact, I had a lot of very positive feedback on the customer portal, the water customer portal. And more than one person personally and in writing told me, y'all need to figure out how to get more people on it, because once people are on it, they see how good it is, they're gonna appreciate it. So yeah, I would ask you, if you're not on it, you should be on it, but more than that, talk it up and get other folks on it. And it's a great system. There's a little bit of lag that we're working on, but aside from that little, and by the way, this is important. The lag that you hear about, that Councilman Bauer talked about, is a lag to your app. It is not a lag to our system to say that there's a problem. So if you have, if you have a leak, or if you have a flow that's higher than the threshold, it will still show up as an alarm to us. It's just that there's a lag right now with the transmission. It's not a big lag, but it's a lag enough that you could perceive that what good is this doing me. But if you're out of town, even a couple hour lag beats the heck out of not knowing it for a week. So it's a great system, it really is, and we're learning more about it. We're getting more people signed up to it, and we're also working on some procedures to make the Water Commission's job and then your job after that easier when it comes to ensuring that we can protect people, that we can help people if they're out of town. There's a lot. It's as you well know, it's a big deal to turn somebody's water off. So you kind of have to have something laid out ahead of time to say, hey, if we can't get a hold of you and we perceive there's a leak and we're going to turn off your water, you okay with that? And we can set those kind of arrangements up. We have some issues with database on contacts and some other stuff, but we're working on that. And in the coming months, you're going to see that get better and better. But again, encourage people to get on that app. It's a great app, and I've got a lot of people have seen fit to let me and let the water manager know. And the other thing is, you saw a bunch of letters in the beginning of this session, but that as people came out of the winter storm and as they started to talk to friends and neighbors and they started to read, they started to have even more appreciation for what our folks did. And that created more communications to me and to staff saying, hey, really, you need to thank these folks. And one person's words exactly were that whoever kept the water flowing deserves a medal. So we'll give them a retirement medal. Yeah, so that was a lot of the communication that we got during the last month. That concludes item 13. Item 14 is discussion of future agenda items. Let's start over on the left side and see if there's anything that you would like to have on the next agenda.
Just bring the foster program forward.
Will do. Anything else? Sir? 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 Okay. Okay, next up is citizen comment period. This is the second one. Remember, it's you don't have to have signed up to speak at this one. I ask you after you speak to go over to where Ms. Spencer's standing. There will be a sign-up sheet over there so she can record your information. Same rules apply, that we don't start 2 minutes. And if you spoke once, you can speak again, but you can't speak about the same stuff, which is in item number 4 of the rules. So, item 15, citizen comment period. Would anyone like to speak?
Shelby Trial, 21657 Forest Water Circle. I got home in time to watch a little bit more of the council meeting, and I'm appalled. I've lived here 28 years, and I've never heard a city council call out an individual resident by name. And I challenge the city to produce any record they have of that ever happening. And if I need to file an information request to have them go back to the beginning of the city, I'll do so. I demand an apology from this city council. I further request that you censor any council person that did that tonight. And to another council member, if somebody wants proof of what I sent them, just hold up your hand and I will send that same information to each one of you. But for all of y'all's general knowledge, I said, because of the way the 4th of July went down, I said, I will no longer support you. I will actively work against your defeat in the next election. So that's what I said. If he has any other material, he's happy to produce it and share it with me, because that's what it was. And when does it become a crime? When does it become an issue when you can't disagree with a city council? When are you getting attacked because you don't agree with their decisions? This is totally uncalled for. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else?
Dr. Jim Miller, 9910 Marie Meadow. I don't know, maybe I missed a memo or something. There's a whole lot of brouhaha about social media. And it seems as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, we had a briefing from the city attorney at one time, several years back, about the use of social media and gave us some guidelines. And I would hope that city council, when they get to discussing any rules or policy about use of social media by the city council, would go back and review that presentation by the city attorney, which I thought was very, very appropriate. And I've used as my guideline how I use social media as it relates to city government, or excuse me, city business, and basically comes down to I don't use it at all. And I just hope that the city attorney can lend some input to whatever you guys come up with, because it's a whole lot of brouhaha. We've wasted a lot of time this evening talking about social media and personal things, non-personal things, or whatever. It's just a lot of wasted time that half of us don't even know what you're talking about.
Thanks, sir. Next.
Ken Kniper, 8891 Chaintal Road. The go-kart for Comal ISD, I think you have to be over 60 years of age to get one. All you do is call the central office, and they'll send you one in the mail, free of charge. You get into all athletic events and fine art events at the high schools within the whole district. Not just one, all of them, regardless. In March, I attended a baseball tournament sponsored by Davenport, and I was there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. On Thursday and Friday, some of the kids got to come out of class to watch the tournament games. It was interesting to watch the teachers bring their kids in, marshal them into the stands, and the students did so quietly, respecting all the fans that are already in the stands, and let them alone. They did not disrupt anybody. It would have been something to see. I got to talk to some of the teachers. The ag teacher, I got to meet most of the coaches, because I am a nosy person. I like to talk to folks. I know some want to sit there by myself, and my wife and I just know, and I communicate. I'll ask questions. I learned a lot. The ag teacher told me they're already full at capacity with their ag born, and this is their first year. Mr. Deloche got Principal of the Year for Comal ISD within the district. Our Fine Arts Department, their Wernack Play won district. One district in their first year. They got defeated at the next level, but they still got it. Next year we'll get further. It seems strange. Nobody that deals with Comal ISD can get these figures, but yet I can. And I have nobody going there. I have no kids in Comal ISD, and yet I can get information. Some of you can't. I don't understand it.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Going once, twice, 3 times. Moving on to item number 16. 16 is reports, comments from mayor and city council members. I ask you to limit them to the things that are on the list. And I'll mention also that if you ever think that something should be on this list that isn't, by all means, let us know. But nevertheless, starting over on the left side, anything? I think she's about to talk. They started talking and it looked like you were about to talk.
I know they did. No. Nope.
Okay. Sure. Okay, moving on, item 17, executive session. City council recesses open meeting and reconvene in executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551-071, consultation with attorney, and 551-072, deliberate actions about real property, deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and deliberation in an open meeting would have detrimental effect on the position of the governmental body in negotiations with third person, and legal advice on same wastewater utility easement acquisition and property acquisition for city building project and related matters. We're going to do it in here because of the social distance. We can't fit us in back there, but I will ask the attorney and the engineer to stick around. We're going to recess at 9:20 and take a 10-minute break. 9:30 we'll reconvene and do the executive session. Thank you. We are recessed. Oh, yes, thank you. And in the consent agenda, the sheet that you approved, everybody needs to sign it. So city secretary is asking you to go over there and sign it. Thank you.